And this interview is brought to you by Real Deal Wellness. This is a company my wife and I just launched, Real Deal Wellness. It's a membership base. We're charging the lowest price that has ever been offered for wellness in San Diego in history. You're going to get cryotherapy, red light therapy, infrared sauna, compression therapy, and halotherapy, which is dry salt therapy. Real Deal Wellness. You can go to our website, realdealwellness.net. Also, subscribe to the channel, share it, like it. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a nice day. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Real Deal Talk. This guest today is an absolute legend. Mr. John Martin. Excuse me. The John Martin is in the house today. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you, JD. It's an honor to be here. Nice pull on the TJM reference.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
You like that?
I like that.
Pamela's going to love that.
She's going to love that.
She is going to love that. The John Martin. So I met, you guys know, if you've been tuning to the show since I launched it, you guys know how I do it. I love to point out the fact that in your life, you need to be connecting with as many people as possible. So every single guest comes to me on the fly for the most part. And John here, I literally met him, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Where are we at?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, we just met, and we met at the Cody Cottles Christian Entrepreneur Club get-together.
Jesus Rockstar Cody.
Boom. Yeah. Cody Cottle, shout out. Follow my man. He's amazing.
Amazing.
Incredible. Him and his wife, Esther, doing amazing things. So, and this is the whole idea behind the organization, by the way. The Christian Entrepreneur Club is to meet fellow Christians that are out there in the marketplace, taking care of business, taking territory, building the kingdom.
Love it.
Doing things the right way, righteously. That's what it's all about. And that's how, in case in point, now he's on my podcast 3 weeks later. And I'm excited about this because we're similar age. You're what, 53?
54.
So did you just turn 54?
Yeah, August.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
54, look at him. He looks like $1 million. It ripped up. He's in phenomenal shape.
Don't. You're going to lose credibility right there.
Come on.
If they look,
hey, it's okay. It's like I'm looking in the mirror right now.
At a skinnier you.
A skinnier you. A leaner you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
After I get into cryo, though, you told me.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get shredded, dude. Even more shredded than you are now.
Okay.
So anyway, met John, and you guys are going to kind of hear on the fly here me get to know him because we touched that night. We hung out. We went to us and the wives went out to got a glass of wine afterwards, right?
Yep.
Born and raised, right? Just for a quick little glass of wine, and he told me his story for like 30 seconds. I'm like, whoa. All right, that's enough. Stop right there. Let's put this on the air. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So before we get to, and by the way, he's built and sold an IT company. Okay. Him and his wife run a marriage and relationship coaching business. Yep. Can't wait to dig into that. So stick around if you want any advice on relationships or marriage, whatever. And then also you recently launched a Christian singles kind of community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Super excited.
And it's called Sundays. Right? What's the name?
Sundays Social Club.
Sundays Social Club. And this is all for Christians to meet, single Christians to meet, because, like, where do we go? Do we go to a bar? Where do you to meet somebody and somebody that's quality? And John's got that taken care of.
Yeah. We're super excited. It's an interesting problem that I think the church doesn't know what to do with exactly.
Yeah. Because
it's a little bit awkward. Like, do we put all the singles in a room, and then what happens? Are we responsible for that? Yeah. It's a little bit. It's an understandably awkward position for church leadership to look at this. What do we do about it?
Right.
And so you have all these Christian singles like, well, how do I meet someone? Well, my friends and family, tiny circle.
Right.
My church, bigger circle. But how do you do that? Do I come out after service and go, hey, everyone, I'm single. Anyone else out there want to grab a coffee or something? It's just we don't know what to do about that. And then you have the dating apps. I probably don't need to say too much about that because I live that a little bit. I did a little bit of the dating app thing before I met Pamela. And so we're like, well, what would happen if we create a intentional community for Christians that isn't locked in by a church wall, and that we brought in people and we vet them. So we vet and make sure, are you intentionally seeking God on a daily basis? What's your perspective on premarital sex?
Yep.
And are you intentionally trying to date and find a spouse? And so that's kind of the vetting. So we have 5 questions we go through. There's a couple more. How much this is a one that we really prayed and Pamela and I talked about is how much does your social media reflect who you are as a person?
Yee.
And we talked about it because we want to know, because that's one of the vetting processes. Look at you say you're this, but if I look at your social media profile, what is that reflecting? And I went, I need to go look at my social media profile.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt good about it, but I hadn't really thought about. I wasn't that intentional even about what I'm posting on social media. What am I reflecting? So that's the whole thing. And then we do events, which is super fun because instead of having to go on a date, even if you met a friend introduced you or you met someone at church, you're still sitting down in this kind of, I'm going to put my veneer on to try and be attractive to you. And if there's some awkwardness where we're creating a bunch of very different types of things you can go do in community with other Christian singles and just get to know people without it being this one-on-one thing. Just observe these men and women in the wild.
Yes.
What do they do at a pickleball tournament when they hit the ball in the net 3 times?
Right.
How do they react?
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
So it gives you that insight without the pressure. And then over a little bit of time, you start to go, I really like who that person is as a human being, you know, let alone, there's some physical attraction.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a good point, dude. I never thought about that because somebody be all great and everything, but then all of a sudden you get in a situation where the pressure's on or something and they come unglued. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. I actually, I've had friends, you know, single for a long time or divorced and dating. I'm like, you need to show up late.
Yeah.
Show up late to a date. See how they handle that. And that sounds kind of bad, like 'cause you're not trying to sabotage, but you do. If you're intentionally dating, you need to figure out who the person really is, and we don't really know who someone really is until they're under stress or dealing with a circumstance that's not going as planned. That's where we see what's going on in the heart, and because you're going to be with that person forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of people that have been surprised, shall we say?
Yes. I can't wait to dig into the whole, just the coaching thing, the coaching aspect of what you do. I can't wait to dig into that.
Yeah, it's the most fulfilling thing I've probably experienced in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so far, the singles community Sundays, how many members are a part of it so far?
We just launched last Sunday.
Yep.
We go to Light Church in Encinitas, so they let us use the facility. So we had a launch event. We had about 30 people there.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a Sunday bar.
Yeah.
And we kind of presented what we're doing, what we're about, and so the members are filing in. So our first thing is this Sunday we're putting up the first events for September, October.
Great.
And so the membership's growing really fast.
Wow.
And it's gonna grow virally.
Yes, of course.
What I
yeah.
think, because because the people that came were just like, this is incredible, like the quality of people you have here, and you know, because we did a fun game, like a bingo, like find someone who's left-handed, find someone, you know, who has been in television, and so everyone's like, this was very different.
Wow.
Than anything. It's different than our small group at our church.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was very positive feedback, and so our thing about that is, and it sounds cheesy, but bear with me.
Yep.
It's give, grow, and glow. So we have 3 components of this. So one is we want to give in community. So we want to do altruistic thing. Let's go help the homeless. Let's go down to Tijuana and help build a church. So we're going to have quarterly events where we get everyone to do that. And then grow. Look, when we're single, a lot of people who are struggling with being single, it's around, some of it's more in the mirror than it is with them finding a quality person.
Come on now.
Yeah. And so, and myself included, like when I was single, I look back and go, wow, I really had some things that I needed to deal with about me.
Yep.
To bring the best me, someone who's really pointed to God and letting God highlight the areas of my life I need to work on.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be a Christian leader. I couldn't lead in a relationship the way you need to if you want to have a thriving, successful marriage.
Yep. 100%.
And so we have a grow. So we do a monthly, we get people together and we go through a singles course, and we're going to do some stuff just with men and just with women, because we do have different challenges traditionally,
right,
as men and women. And then the glow is just like the fun community stuff I was talking about earlier. We're gonna go pick apples in Julian. We're gonna go play pickleball. We're gonna go to a dinner, go to a concert. Just get people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. Love it,
kind of
dude.
thing.
Love it. What we'll do is we'll have to, now that we're talking out loud about this, we'll organize maybe one of your events here, and we'll put them through a wellness, like 2 to 3 hours of wellness.
Done.
Yeah,
Let's see people
right?
in cryo
Yes.
for 5 minutes. See them
Struggling.
crying in cryo. Is that why it's named cryo?
That's
'Cause
correct.
You go
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. You cry. It's crying. It was originally called crying.
In
but
Swedish, it's cryo.
Yeah, they needed to add therapy, so crying therapy didn't sound right, so they put cryotherapy.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better to bond when you're going through pain together. That's the number one way to bond, is when you're going through something together.
It's so powerful. I mean, we
Yeah.
know in the military, right? That's
Yeah,
a giant
of course.
part of how they build this
Oh, yeah.
bond. And
Yeah, the community.
And that's the funny thing in marriages is people view trials and tribulations in marriages as a breaking point. When handled correctly, it's a strengthening point.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's your teaser. There's your little teaser as to what's going to happen later in this interview here. And I can't wait to dig into it, by the way. But first and foremost, the way we do, and everybody knows this, we're going to dig into your backstory just a little bit, just a tiny, teeny little bit here. We're going to dig into see where did John Martin come from? How did you get to where? How did this man end up looking like this at 54 years old in this chair right now? Where did it all begin? So let's go back. So let's go. Born and raised. Where were you born and raised? Let's start there.
Born and raised Hollywood, California.
Really?
Hollywood Presbyterian.
Come on.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Well, so when you have a man and a woman,
Yeah, let's get into this. So exactly where we're now.
yeah.
Meaning Hollywood.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody in this 100+ interviews I've done. Nobody's ever been born in Hollywood. So how did the parents end up in Hollywood?
Yeah, no, it is a crazy story. So my mom grew up actually up in Lake Arrowhead. She went to Rim of the World High School, and my grandfather had a men's clothing business in downtown LA. And so my mom ended up going to school down there. She met my father, who was 5 years younger. He was in the Navy. So he was in Vietnam.
Okay.
So they met somewhere. They ended up eloping in Vegas, and then
Your parents.
my parents.
Okay.
Yep. And then I was born. They didn't really consult me. I just popped out in this hospital.
Consult you.
I didn't have much say in the matter.
Okay.
But yeah, I was born in my mom. And funny fact is, my mom and my aunt were actually in movies as babies. They were in some
Wow.
Elvis Presley and John
No
Wayne
way.
movies. That you see the little baby in there, and you're like, I wonder who that baby is.
Yeah.
And so they wrote an article about my grandfather, because my grandfather had to pay taxes on these infants because they had revenue. Which is a funny.
No kidding.
Yeah, super wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's how they were ending up in Hollywood.
I don't think their acting necessarily was why they're in Hollywood, but I think because they were in Hollywood,
Yeah.
the acting came.
Right.
It was a
Okay.
chicken and egg thing.
So you're born there. Now give me some childhood stuff. Brothers, sisters.
Yeah. I was born there. My mom was an apartment manager in downtown LA. So that was fascinating, because I grew up with my mom would put me to bed, and I would say, Mom, do the funny names. And so there was so much graffiti,
Yeah.
in LA. And she'd be like, Droopy and Sloopy and because all these gang members are writing their names on
Yes.
the wall, and I just thought it was hilarious. So that was, but a weird fact there is 2 of the apartment buildings she managed caught fire.
What?
Yeah. It doesn't look good on a resume.
No.
I don't think she did it a third time, but
They lose the whole apartment complex?
no, but I just remember running out, like they contained it. None of them fully burned down, but
Were you living in the apartment complex?
yeah, we were in it when it caught fire.
Oh, so she managed on site.
Yeah, we live in we're staying there, and I'm a little kid. I'm like 5. I think we left when I was 7.
Yeah.
But I grew up basically in the hood in downtown LA, which it wasn't quite as hoodie as it is
Yeah.
maybe now. But yeah, those are some
2
random.
of them caught fire.
2 of them caught fire, and I mean, my mom was a terrible cook, but fortunately, it wasn't her cooking
Right.
that burned it down.
And so did the whole place burn down?
No, it was like the fire department came. I remember standing outside. I remember pretty clearly, and they're shooting the fire
Yeah,
water
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and they put it out, so it didn't. But I don't know. We didn't move back in, so I don't know what
Yeah. And was your dad there too?
my dad was there too.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so you remember growing up there. So give me some childhood stuff. Where did you go to school? What happened there? Everything. Any traumatic stories going on here? How was the childhood? Smooth sailing.
Smooth. Yeah, I was a terrible child, JD.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example.
What does that mean?
I'll give you an example. I told you my dad was in the Navy. He was in Vietnam. He was Navy reconnaissance. So they'd fly over the enemy, take pictures, where's the enemy at? And so he got to see some really cool parts of the world, and he took these incredible photographs, which at the time were captured and stored as slides. And so I'm a little kid downtown downstairs, and they had this basement space, and I decide I want to help the family. And I thought a good way to do that is I see everyone cleaning, so maybe I'll do some cleaning. So I took all my dad's slides from put them in a bucket with soap and water and cleaned them up.
Oh gosh. And these were like actual intelligence.
There was no these are just like he had lion,
Yeah.
in just these incredible photographs and a lot of personal memories,
Right.
and I wrecked them all.
Ugh.
And then continuing with this cleaning theme of mine, my dad also kept saltwater fish tanks, which he had
Okay.
these really cool fish. I decided one day let's clean the fish tank.
Oh, gosh.
So I soaped that up as well.
Killed all the fish.
But looking hindsight, in order to not take any responsibility for my actions as a 5 or 6-year-old, this is truly a parenting issue. Where
I
was
agree.
my mom?
Exactly. This
Where
is
was my
exactly what I
mom?
was thinking. Like clearly there was a miscommunication from the parents to you. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? You don't know what to do.
Yeah. And then I broke a lot of stuff when I was little. So when I was downtown LA, there was this little park across the street, and again, where's my mom?
Right.
I'm like 5. My buddy, we go across and like pretend there's treasure and all that. So one day I'm going across, a drunk driver hits me and breaks my foot, like runs me over somewhat. Again,
Yeah.
where are my parents?
Exactly. It's a breakdown of the system here.
And then I invented this sport, which I probably have the world record because I've never heard of anyone else doing it. Again, I'm like 5 or 6. We invented this game of let's go find and see who can drop from the highest fire escape ladder. So you'd have all these ladders, so we'd get up there and then hang. And I remember I'm hanging on this thing. It was probably a foot off the ground, but it seemed like 10 feet. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to drop from here. And I'm hanging on as long as I can. I finally just drop, and I was fine. But those are some of my random memories.
This interview is brought to you by Real Deal Wellness. This is my wife and I started a wellness center about a few months ago, and this is a big deal because we're making wellness affordable for everyone. That's the mission here. We offer red light therapy, cryotherapy, infrared sauna, compression therapy, halotherapy, which is dry salt therapy, at a price that's never been seen before in the wellness industry. It's a membership-based business. You join, you have unlimited access to our center for less than $100, $99 a month, Real Deal Wellness. Come down, join the club, join the mission. Let's go. Yeah, okay. This is, and where was your mother? What is she doing here?
She's writing tracks.
Writing tracks.
My mom.
What, songs?
No, Christian tracks.
No
my
way.
My mom loved Jesus like psychotically.
Really?
Like, more than anyone I know. Like, just wake up in the morning. She'd be hours in her bedroom just praying, reading the Bible.
Wow.
Just obsessed. Like, and I love that. Like, it's very inspirational looking back. There's moments in my childhood where I found it annoying and embarrassing.
Right, of course.
But it bordered on maybe like obsessive compulsive. But she loved Jesus.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'll tell you some more stories about how that played out.
Yeah.
Because it's God has an interesting journey
Yes.
for a lot of us.
Yeah, so tell me, keep going with it. Like, what does that mean? Like, were you in church every Sunday? Were you fighting it? Like, 'cause I know as a kid, if the parents make you do something,
Yeah.
you're like, you don't want any part of it.
I know, and that's a wiring thing to some degree.
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser by nature. I have to battle. I have to be self-conscious of my people pleasing and realize that is this the right approach
Right.
to certain situations. So I love we went to Salvation Army when I was younger, and I enjoyed that as a kid. Free donuts. I mean, they knew how to get us going.
Of course.
I love the songs.
Yeah.
But fast forward, and we ended up moving to Whittier. So I grew up like 7 years old till I was 18 in Whittier, California.
Yep.
Went to Whittier High, Nixon alma mater.
Yep.
A few fun facts.
Yeah. You have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister who's 9 years younger.
Yep.
So she was born in Whittier, and she had a wild journey. So I'll continue on with my mom's obsession, right?
Yeah.
So we moved
Yeah.
to Whittier, and she's literally writing, tracks. She's she's taking, this is before home printers. She's like cutting out things, excerpts from things, verses, and trying to fit it on a single page because she wanted to get as many made for as cheap as possible. And it looked like the mind of a crazy person in some ways, like things are sideways, but she's fitting it all in. And so she'd go around, like if we're walking to the grocery store, we're walking, hey, do you know Jesus loves you? He's your Lord. Do you know if she just go hard all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom.
And by the tracks, do you mean like something that would be composed, or what do you mean by
Yeah,
track?
like a printed out piece of paper. So tracks traditionally, churches or religious organizations would make. It could be like a few pages and it would have a little story. Like, do you know that Jesus loves you and He loves you as you are, and you can be saved, and just so basic kind of how would you share your faith.
Okay, got it.
And so she put all this stuff together, and it's all there. You have to read through it, but she would hand those out and talk. And I'm like, Mom, can you just not when we're just going to the grocery store and we run into my friends and you're like hammering them about Jesus? Can you just not for one? Can you just take a breather? But she couldn't. It was just on all the time, and that eventually.
What did your dad think of this?
My dad loved Jesus, and I grew up very poor by American standards. Like, power's out a lot, didn't have a car most of the time. Funny story: someone gave my dad a car. He drove a little bit. It broke down, so he has it sitting there. One day we come out and someone's stolen the rims and tires off this car that's been sitting there forever. And we live across the street from the police station. And then like a couple weeks later we come out and someone stole the blocks from.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is really getting tough here. You're stealing the blocks.
Wow.
From the, but I grew up very poor, and my dad, he loved Jesus. So I grew up poor materially. Food from the food banks and just weird. I ate weird, didn't have a lot of clothes, and there's embarrassing parts of that. But I always felt loved. I always felt loved, and my parents, I knew about Jesus. So even in my teenage years, I was very aware that I was a very different socioeconomic status, but I knew I had the richest thing available to anybody.
Yeah.
And so that kind of kept me grounded to some degree. But fast forward, my dad did have a hard time with it, and my mom, because of her obsession and focus on God all the time, couldn't really relate to my dad in a traditional worldly relationship sense. So, and my mom felt my dad verbally, emotionally abused her, which I didn't see anything. I mean, he could be jokey and all that. But so anyway, I fast forward, and I'm, I think, 15 at the time, 16 maybe. I come home from high school, and my mom left and took my sister and just left me know, like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't stay here with your dad. You're older, you're gonna be okay. But I couldn't.
She didn't leave any of that, or she did.
She left a little note said that, and just left me. And my mom was so loving and nurturing to me. It's one of those moments, if we look at the timeline of our life of the that just elevates above other things. It's the loudest,
right?
And I was screaming out the window, just cry,
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing because I still knew she loved me, and I knew she was dealing the best she could. I found out later on that my mom believed that my father had been inappropriate with my sister. Yeah.
That's like the real reason she left? Or one of the main reasons?
It probably was one of the main reasons. And that's a whole nother thing because, and I have a relationship with my dad, and I believe God calls us to honor our mother and father, and it's not contingent on how good they are.
Yeah.
So I do my best to, keep doing that.
And you'd heard that later in life?
Yeah, I heard it later.
How long later?
Gosh, 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
So the original, you come home, she had a note. What happened from that day forward? Like, were you able to have contact with her? Because back then there was we had rotary phones. There was no cell phones.
Yeah. Not too much contact.
Were you shocked? Were you just like, what the heck?
I was completely shocked. Yeah, it was shattering to me, to my psyche. And my dad was my dad had been in motorcycle accidents a few times. The last one, he was comatose for a while, so he was kind of a little zombie-ish. Like he didn't have a job, and he was getting some some disability money, so he could pay the rent, but the rent was usually behind always. I grew up very stressed and cognizant of bills and what happens when you don't pay bills, eviction notices,
Wow.
power. We didn't have a washer and dryer. My mom would wash our clothes in the tub and then hang them over the oven, crack the oven, turn the oven on, and dry them. It was it's what I knew, but I knew there was something different because my grandfather was very wealthy, so he had
Yeah.
this house on the lake in Lake Arrowhead. So we'd go up there, once a year and hang out. And I'd be like, oh, this is.
Why didn't he help out?
He gave my dad a car at one point, and he employed my dad at his men's clothing shop in L.A. And he tried to help, but there is a point where if someone won't help themselves,
Yeah.
you can't. You're really not helping them.
Right, correct. Yeah.
It's a temporal Band-Aid. And then my dad did. He freebased cocaine and did drugs for a while, and so I'm basically.
Well, this is when she left. He was doing that stuff too.
He had done that before,
Yeah.
and then got clean, and then I thought, okay, everything's okay, and then then she leaves. So I have this comatose, unemployed dad. My mom left with my sister, and I'm trying to make sense of all this. And
Did your sister keep in contact with? Did she know this was happening?
she was much younger, and
Oh, yeah, she's-
and then so my mom takes her to an abused woman's shelter, and there's some sexual abuse that happened there.
Oh Lord.
So my sister went through a
Wait.
very,
So the shelter? What was the shelter supposed to do?
it's an abused women's shelter. So
And
I
then
don't
it
know.
happened there?
I don't know exactly how or what. Oh, I have to tell you this story because this is. So before my mom left, I tell you, my mom's witnessing everyone. She does not discriminate. She was constantly trying to make sure I was saved. It was like, are you sure? And I'm like, Mom, I'm good. I love
Yeah.
Jesus. And I had my own personal experience in high school at a church camp, which I'll talk about later. But before that, so my mom, she's witnessing everybody. So one day she happens upon a couple of Satanists, like legit,
Right.
we worship Satan
Yeah.
types of people. So what does she do? What do you do when you meet two Satanists? You bring them home. Bring them on over. She brings them home we live in this, it was a studio,
Yeah.
the four of us. She brings them home. She starts praying over them. The one guy starts vomiting. Like it was full on
Wow.
spiritual.
Yes. Deliverance.
They got saved. And this one guy, Robert, I'm terrible at names. I remember his name for some reason. he starts living with us for a little bit,
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. It's like I had the weirdest life experience.
Good Lord.
Just-
Wow.
Just wild.
How long did he live there?
A couple months. And
And you're in a studio.
We're in
Where
a
the
s-
heck was he sleeping?
there's a closet in the living room, and they put a bed in the closet, so he slept in the closet.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, no. My dad slept in the living room on a waterbed. My mom slept in the other closet off the bathroom, and I think with my sister, and then I slept in another room. It was bizarre, bizarre. But
Oh my gosh. So you went over that detail. Is there anything else besides Satanistic people coming over and living with you?
yeah, there's a lot.
Good
There's a lot. My sister, right? She has this more traumatic life experiences, and so she and I when I turned fortunately God gifted me with intelligence of above average, I would say.
Yeah.
I see problems. I can solve things. I can design systems. That's a natural thing for me. It's very easy for me. And I did very well in school. And so I got into college and I was out of there. Like I applied for financial. I did it all myself. No one helped me. Like there's no like, okay, Johnny, we're going to take you to the thing. It was
Yeah.
just like, figure it
No
out.
problem.
So I go off to college. I go to Point Loma. Point Loma Nazarene. That's how I got down to San Diego in
Yeah.
'88, which involved me touring the college and seeing the surf, which I was a surf junkie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is where I'm going. And so I applied. That's where I went. So I leave. My sister now is, with my mom, bouncing around.
How long ago? So what age did mom take off? I can't remember. 15, 16?
15, 16, I want to say.
All right, so hold on. You're in college already. Let's back up here. Hold up a second, bro. Hold on. 16 to 18 in the house with your dad. Give me something there. Give me what is going on there. How were you able to survive if you had no job?
Oh, good point. Yeah, I did skip over some things.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I'd see people raising money, selling things to raise money for this and that.
Okay.
So selling candy, chocolate bars, or just random stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could do that. So I would buy the blow pops in bulk and, sell them for $0.25 a piece. And that, that's
Those
how
are like gold, by the way.
Oh.
Good call. There's nobody that doesn't like a blow pop.
green apple or cherry.
Literally nobody. I'm down for anything, bro.
Anything.
Yeah, because I put them in the showroom here in our Real Deal Sleep showroom.
Yeah.
From day one, 20 years ago, and I looked up and like every customer's got one in their mouth. It's brilliant, bro. You are very smart. So. All right, so you did those. What were you selling them for?
$0.25 piece.
Oh yeah, big
yeah,
time.
which is great profit back then.
Of course.
I think they're like $5 now or something, right, with inflation.
Yeah. In a $0.25 piece, that's like what? Probably about a 300% margin. That's a big margin.
Oh, I think my cost was like a nickel.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So great margin. So that was my lunch money, and then I had read Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. Have you read that?
No.
It was like AP reading book.
Yeah.
But it's a very famous book about a guy who actually Dostoevsky became a Christian, but the story is you have this guy of incredibly high intelligence, super genius basically. And he develops a philosophy that because he is so far advanced above anyone else around him, that he can do whatever he wants. And so he ends up killing someone, and then there's this detective that's trying to catch him. But there was this mindset that because of my intellectual superiority, and I can manipulate and navigate anybody who would come at me and win, he decides to pursue that to the fullest extent. So that book and a little bit of Robin Hood, I realized I had a need. People had things I needed, and I was willing to take those as long as I didn't hurt an individual.
Okay.
So that translated into a few things. I would steal my clothes. Like I would go into a store and put on multiple clothes and then put my jacket on and walk out.
Yep.
I robbed a bank.
You robbed a bank. Okay.
When I was in college.
Give me the details.
I worked at, I think the what's the term when it's passed and they can't prosecute you?
The statute of limitations.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
Deep
We're good.
that one
Yeah,
up
we're
for
good.
you.
We're fine.
I think we're good on that. So
Yeah, you're good.
I work. Is it a bank robbery though? Is that okay?
I think unless you stole like hundreds of
No,
thousands
no.
of dollars.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're not gonna care.
nowadays you can just walk in a bank and steal as much as
Yeah,
they
because
can,
they can't
and
do
won't
anything
even
to you.
do anything. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
only $1,000. But so I worked as a teller at Wells Fargo in Point Loma, and so I they have this system, right, where you have these little slips that are credits and debits, and you're doing it all on the computer. And I in my false belief that I had figured a way around the system to make the numbers tie out at the end of the day, I'm doing something and I drop $1,000 chunk on the floor and do my thing all day, and then I bend down and tie my shoe, tuck it in my pocket, and take that money home thinking I have Dostoevsky,
Yes.
the system,
Yes.
because the bank has plenty of money and I have none.
Right.
Yeah. I was a sperm donor in college, and I'll tell you about that later.
Okay. Can't wait. Hey, by the way, that air purifier is on. Is that too loud? You're good? You can hear it though? Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, God, that's gonna be a nice one. Here we go.
So I took this money and I went and bought. I was in a dorm with a couple of my buddies from high school that came down my junior year, and I bought a really killer stereo and some nice speakers. Stupid stuff like it wasn't like I needed it to eat. I had all this student loans I was living off of. And so fast forward a couple months, like I'm going into work every day. I'm like, pulled it off. Look at me.
Yeah.
One day I get a call. Hey, you need to come into the office today. The FBI is here to talk to you.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. And I'm like, oh boy. let's go over our story here. What could they, so I just did this mental, like, what could they know? And my logic was, if they'd known I'd steal it, they wouldn't be bringing me in to talk to me. I would be in handcuffs.
Correct.
So I went in, sat down, like, hey, your numbers didn't add up. We know you took the money. I'm like, I didn't take any money. Well, we know you did, and you're going to be, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have the money. Well, we're going to have to let you go. Okay. Doesn't seem fair,
Yeah.
and out I went. Cause I just knew there was no camera angle there.
Right.
And I knew it was probably a small enough amount of money so I lost my job, in
Yeah.
hindsight, I did not make any money out of that transaction. I morally lost. I
Right.
financially lost.
Yeah, of course.
But, so I robbed a Baskin Robbins when I was in high school. My buddy worked there. And so he was morally flexible. And
Morally flexible. So what? He just let you?
he knew when they picked up the cash, so we planned it all. And then he knew where the safe was, and we had a key. So we basically went in with a key, knowing how to get it in. Took all the cash, went out, and then took a baseball bat, smashed the window.
Yeah.
Roughed it all up, made it look we didn't know
Right.
what we were doing, and,
Yeah.
and then we got away, and that
You got away with that one?
got away with that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Stole wetsuit. I stole a lot. Again, I always said I'm stealing from people at big companies. I have nothing. No one's
Right.
really
Yeah.
helping me out. And it's, I don't justify that at all. It was not the right moral decision, but it's part of my story.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to know.
Of course. And so go back here a little bit here, because I still want to know the relationship with your dad when your mom left.
Yeah.
Because you got a 2-year run there in the house with just him.
Yeah.
You see, I keep going back to this because I need to know, and I know my guests are wondering. How did that 2 years go? How did you survive? I know you stole stuff,
Yeah.
right? But you're stealing stuff in college, right?
Yeah. That was in college because I was over 18 at that point. That was the only thing I did.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be. I was looking at juvenile versus
Yeah,
adult.
of course. Yeah,
So that was a very risky, dumb thing
Like
to have done.
of course, absolutely. And I stole everything on the planet when I was a kid. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Until I got caught. Ugh, that was embarrassing.
yeah,
Yeah, it was terrible.
Don't recommend.
No, it wasn't a good look. No, that was just my cousin. And my cousin blamed me. Like, I took the fall.
You were the fall guy.
Yes, because the mom freaked out. His mom freaked out. My aunt freaked out. Oh, it was Little John. It was called Little John back then. It was Little John. And so he totally made me take the rap on that one, and I did.
You took that.
Yeah, because his
Wow.
mom would have killed him.
That's how you know you're from Jersey when you've taken the rap.
Yeah, I took
from
the rap. I
somebody.
took the rap for it. It was like I was stealing like batteries or something for our remote control cars. I don't remember. I mean, this is like we had stolen thousands of things. We finally got caught.
There's an element of there's an entertainment value. Like maybe they should maybe this is the next real deal thing. Like you go in, you create a fake store, and then you see who can steal the most without getting caught.
Oh gosh, here we go.
And it would be this whole adrenaline rush. Like they have the place where you go break things and
Yeah.
you get out and this would be the go adrenaline junkie. Like,
Oh man, I don't know. All right, so so I'm still fascinated and wondering, when you were with Dad for was there any contact with Mom at all? Did she contact you at all? Did you know how to contact her?
No, not really. She came by a few times. I did see her a few times. She came to my graduation
In high school.
In high school.
So
Yeah.
between the time she left, which is around 15 or 16,
Yeah.
how often did you see her?
It's a good question. I don't know if I've blocked that out of my mind or I can't recall, but I would say a handful of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
And each time were you like, Mom, what are you doing here? Why did you do this to me?
I did ask that question, and the first time I because I was very heartbroken.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'm sorry, I just can't be with your dad." And
Why didn't she take you with her? Did you ask that?
Well, she couldn't take me probably to an abused women's shelter. I was a young adult.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
and she probably felt like it would be better for me to stay where I'm at. But yeah, it's a good question. I can't ask her that question. Unfortunately, she's not with us, but it's an intriguing question. Yeah.
And so your dad, what did he say when she left? Was he the victim? Was he playing the victim card? Was he?
Yeah, he was heartbroken. He loved my mom. He just didn't know how to love her right. And I think that we see that a lot in marriages, in our coaching is people, even my ex-wife, which we'll talk about later, but she loved me the best she could.
Yeah.
But our definitions of love were very different.
Right.
And which is why you need God at the center of a marriage that's going to survive. If you don't, then you have this very fluid sense of what love is, and you get to kind of make up your own reality and then challenge each other that you don't really love each other.
Wow.
But he loved her. He still loves her, like to this day. And we'll talk about how she passed later. But yeah, he still loves her. He's like, she was the one. But time can make you think of things more fondly than they really were at the time.
That's true.
So he loved her in mind and spirit, but not in deed and action sometimes, because if you love someone, then I can tell you that by the time and money and energy you put into that. If if you ask me if I love golf and I said yes, you would know I'm lying because I hate golf. I don't play it. I don't spend money on it. Like, it's very obvious. And so my dad was he ever dating my mom and trying to, so that was all missing. He was heartbroken when she left, and I withdrew. I just went kind of, F you, Dad. You don't take care of me. He was like, if you get A's, I'll give you $5 per A on your report card. Then I come in with my A's, and he'd be like, well, here's and there'd be guilt and shame whenever I asked for things he told me he was going to do for me. So I just stopped asking, and that carried on into my life a little bit. Learning to ask for what I need or what I want or what I desire from anybody was a skill I did not have.
Right.
And I figure the best way to get through life is be an island. No one can hurt you. It's the Simon Garfunkel song. I am an island. No one can hurt me. I'm shielded. I have my wall. I'm good. I'm self-sufficient. I'm protected. No one, and that looking back on my failed first marriage, I can see a lot of things that I could have done better,
Right.
And that's something we do in our marriage premarital class. We have groups go through that. It's one of my earlier questions is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at asking and sharing what you need or desire from someone? And it's the best answer I've got is like a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Like, we just don't know how to do it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's our culture, if it's our wiring, but for whatever reason, we have this very difficult time of even just asking for help.
Yeah.
We feel like we're inconveniencing everybody when we ask for help.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I love Cody's thing. He at that event we went to where he's like, yeah, go fast alone, go further together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's very spot on. And we rob people when we don't ask for help. We rob them of the opportunity to bless us.
Yes.
And
I see this in my coaching flag football, and I have parents that I'm like, listen, I can help. I can pick up, your son, take him to practice. I can take him home. It's our pleasure. Rachel and I, that's what we do. It's why we're put on this planet. It's God put this in us. No, I don't want to put you out. No, we can do it. Like, we have to force them to let us help them. And when I do, they're like so appreciative. I'm like, this is nothing for us.
Right.
I had to drive 1 extra mile to drop. So your son can play a sport that he loves. I got you. So it's very interesting that you brought that up, because I'm always like, what is wrong?
What is wrong?
They won't, and they'll just won't ask for help. And I know they need help. Some of them are managing 4 kids with one person.
Yeah. I think it just kind of, our culture right now is individualistic. It's not community.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
the root of it.
There you go. And that's what the system wants.
It is what they want.
That's exactly what they want. God forbid that we unite.
Yes. Yeah, that's what the devil wants. We know.
Yeah.
Like, the devil does his best work when he can get us alone.
Of course, and that's why they're making up all these things to segregate us, fight against each other, infight. Right? It's really, and here we go. We can go down this one. Right? Seriously, it's like, and folks, if you're listening to this, don't believe the freaking hype.
Do not from either side.
Gosh,
It's
either
rigged.
side.
It is rigged.
It's all rigged. It's all corrupt. The elites are completely corrupt. They're money laundering in front of us. They're insider trading in front of us. They're getting away with it. So stop buying into their crap that they care about you,
Yes.
because they do not.
Yeah, all they have to do is villainize, like get you to a line and villainize the other side. It doesn't even
That's
matter
it.
what the position is.
That's it.
It's just
And look what happens.
and look what happened. The balls, yeah, the ball gets kicked down the road. They spend more money. They spend money. They tax us more. It's
Yeah.
and I have to stop myself sometimes when I get on the rant related to the political environment, because the fact is God's still in charge. He's in
Yeah.
control of our leaders, and I'm not going to worry about. I'm not going to lose sleep. Like if the world gets worse, that means He's coming back sooner. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. The only person on the planet that is responsible and that can help you achieve joy and happiness is you.
Yes.
Not a politician. Nobody is other than you.
Right.
All right.
And yeah, I just have to say one thing
Yes.
on that, because we hear this a lot in relationships that are trying, like, you just don't make me happy, or I can't make you happy, and and even our kid, in raising kids, it's no one else's job in the world to make you happy, and it's actually an impossible task. No one can make you happy. No one can make you unhappy. They can do things in which your reaction is that you feel less satisfied.
Right.
But no one makes you anything. You are in control. You have the control over your emotions and what you do with them.
That's correct.
And so for me, getting older and we've only unpacked probably half of the tragedy in my life. Perspective is the
Yeah.
greatest ability. It's a superpower. Perspective,
100%.
superpower.
Superpower.
Yes,
It's all about perspective
it really is.
and perception.
And perception. How do we look at the worst circumstance in my life? Could be tragic or it could be amazing, based on how I look at this situation.
Yep. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for watching, for listening. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, the feedback, the love. So if you want to support the show, we have a company, Real Deal Wellness. That's our wellness center. It's a membership base where you pay $99 a month, have unlimited access to red light therapy, cryotherapy, compression therapy, halo therapy, as well as massage chairs. Also, Real Deal Sleep's our mattress company. But again, we can't thank you enough for subscribing and for sharing the show. Continue to do so. We love you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Like I think I have prostate cancer. So
Yes.
I had another biopsy last month and it came back. It's getting worse. And so I'm
Okay.
going to have to do something about it. And so
I got you, by the way.
you're going to freeze it off.
No. But yes, I'll do that too. But I got you, dude. A girl came into our life because of the wellness center who freaking all she does is help people detoxify.
Oh, love it.
Bro,
Please connect me.
wait till you hear this, man. I'll link you up with her immediately.
Love it.
She was here in my office 2 days ago. We're gonna team up here.
Love it, JD.
And by the way, Andy, same thing, bro. Wait till you listen to this freaking girl that came into our life recently. Look, I can't. The goosebumps.
Wow.
That's all she does is detoxify the human body. Wait till you. Telling you, I'm fired up about this.
That's funny because my daughter, I'm telling her about this. I'm like, I have to treat it now. And I've been researching
I
it
got
for a
you.
while,
Don't,
what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I got you.
She's
It's-
like, don't
it's
treat
done.
it. Don't trust doctors. You can,
No.
can health and
This
diet
girl's
or
all
whatever.
natural healing. I got you. So glad this came up. I'm sure it would have anyway, but I'm going to link you up with her. Andy, I'm going to link you up with her. This girl's phenomenal. We will have that. Forget it. It's over. Yeah. So anyway, if you're listening,
Thanks.
hit me up about this because the chemo doesn't work. Chemo is 97% failure rate.
Yes.
There's a reason for that. The doctors make money off of it. That's why they prescribe it. All right, I'm not going to go down this one, but anyway, I've been studying everything about the medium of the cancer is what needs to be healed, not the cancer itself. The cancer actually, when it forms a little lump or whatever, it's actually the cells saving you,
Encapsulating
it's
it.
encapsulating, putting them in one area so it doesn't go to anyway. All right. Okay, where were we? I'm starting to go off here. Going back to college, so we got through the high school, we got through the 2 years. We're now in college when you're stealing everything and so
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. Oh yeah, for a good cause.
Yeah.
So give me through college. And give me the college again. I forgot now.
Point Loma Nazarene.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which which fascinating. It was they purchased it from the owners were like new agey people, and one of the buildings, the administration building, from the top, is shaped like a turtle because they believe they're going to be reincarnated as turtles. Yeah, it's like bizarre stuff in the world.
Yeah.
And so when they sold the college to a Christian Nazarene college, their condition was they could never change the turtle building because that's their spirit animal or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
It's like whatever. But so I go to college. Again, just drove down in my 750, Toyota Tercel.
Yes.
Broken.
Yes.
Got there. I pull up at the gate. We take our kids to college. It's a big deal. You see the movies, how it's supposed to go down. That was not my experience. I got there. I drive down by myself. Show up to the security gate. Like, yeah, we're closed. You can't come in right now. So I pull off. I sleep on the street. I have my car loaded up with everything I own, which isn't a lot, but a surfboard and anyway. So I get in the campus. Point Loma Young Hall sits right on the cliff, like looking at some of the best waves in San Diego.
Yeah.
Just incredible. So, and I had a wonderful time there. Made good friends. Got in a relationship early. And this was something I've looked back on, reflected on, is that because of maybe my mom leaving, I had some abandonment issues, and I desperately wanted like a relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
And so I met a girl pretty early on and was in a relationship with her. And so that pulled me away from the friendships. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets in college, is that I leaned too much into a relationship, not a great relationship. I think when you meet the right person, it's different. This girl, not the right person. She cheated on me, a couple times and wasn't great. But I regret that. So I get in that relationship, work at Wells Fargo, made some friends, and then end up meeting my first wife at a bar. It's a really great place to meet quality
of course
woman. And I can't say it's a great place to meet a quality person because where was I? I was at the bar. So it reflects on me too, right?
Yeah, that's
I have
right.
to look in the
of course. That goes back to looking in the mirror.
It does.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I meet this girl. I'm living in Pacific Beach.
Come on.
Yeah. I was a lifeguard. So in the summer.
What year was this now?
89 to 93.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did we talk about how we overlapped in PB? Did we talk about this?
No, I didn't know you were in PB.
Yeah, dude. I was in PB in 1992.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
probably just moved out in 92.
Yeah, 93 I started working at the clubs and the bars on Pacific Beach.
Bouncer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's making sense.
Now it's making sense. The meathead.
Dude, mad respect for your biceps.
Come on, let's go.
I have envy.
Let's go.
Pray about it later.
Pray back. In Jesus' mighty name. Let's go.
God, give me biceps like JD or take this feeling away.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Holy Spirit, fill this room with muscular repair, muscle fiber repair.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Let's
I mean,
go.
I have high T. Like I'm like running 900s
Are you
naturally.
really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like I just
naturally.
Naturally.
Come on.
Yeah.
You've never done any type of TRT or anything?
No.
Wow.
Yeah. It's bizarre. Which another college activity for me was being a sperm donor.
Oh
so
yeah.
I
Okay.
mentioned
Go
this.
back. Give me that.
Yeah.
This was in college.
This was in college. Yeah.
Okay. So this is one of the ways you paid your way. All right.
Yeah. I mean,
tell me.
I was doing it for free anyway, right? So
Exactly.
put
So
it
you
in
might
a
as
cup.
well make a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, what is this all about?
So a couple of my buddies are talking about. I'm like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Yeah, we were sperm donors. You get $35 every time you go in." I'm like,
No way.
$35. If I go,
and put that in perspective now. What's that now? 500?
oh god, probably.
Right?
I mean, it's
Because people are thinking 35. I wouldn't know.
no, it's probably 150 at least.
At least.
At least,
So
maybe
it's 5
more.
times that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
$150 for a 20-something-year-old right now, that's a chunk of change. Especially
Yeah.
if you're going in 5 times a week.
and on a good day, that's a 30-second exercise.
Yeah. That's like 400 an hour.
That's 400. Yeah, you can only go every 3 to 4 days.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
Your sperm count has to be maxed out
okay.
when you go in.
Yeah.
But it's not. Look, don't minimize my career as a sperm donor.
I'm not.
It's
We're
a
not.
very
This is-
difficult job to get.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
is.
It's and I'm
What were the qualifications? Like, how would you...
no, it actually is. Like,
Shut
I'm
up.
not joking. I'm not joking.
Did
So-
blood tests, everything?
Yeah, they blood test you, but it's more your. So you have to go give a sample, right? This is
Okay.
your
Yeah.
qualification run. So you give a sample, and what they look at is they look, of course, your sperm count.
Yeah.
and then they look at your sperm motility after freezing, because that's what's going to happen to it,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
So I had like, I don't remember the metric, right? Let's say the normal is like 100. Mine's like 3,000. Like I have
Oh my gosh.
crazy sperm count.
Wow.
And the freezing, mine came back to life. It was like
Come on.
the resurrection of.
Wow.
Yeah, like
So they pay you more?
I should have. I was too
Right.
young to know.
We need to
like,
go
the
back.
value. Like, so you're saying
We need to sue them. You're owed money.
why I could sue them now because it's like, well, no, I have to sue myself. But we'll get into that. So,
Oh gosh.
so I did this for so I'm making probably $300 a month.
Yeah.
It was out by state, so I drive
Yeah.
up the 8, go
Yeah.
out there, and you come in and you're just a code. Like you don't have a name. Like
Nothing.
this is because they
Your
want
number.
to keep it all
Right.
obscure. So one day I'm in there, a year or so into it. I'm like, hey, Susie, so are my samples in play? She's like, oh yeah. Because they do a little profile on you. So if you're a parent and you're like, I want a sperm donor, like they want to look at kind of who the person is. They don't
Yes.
see a picture of you, but like, 5'11",
Yeah.
smart guys, athletic. And so I guess I got picked a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And-
what was your bio? Did you remember your bio?
It was
Like give it, and you can brag here a little bit. Come on. You're a specimen. Look at you. I can only imagine what you were at like in their 20s.
no, I got more specimen-y later on in life.
Specimen-y. What were you, a scrawny runt then? What was,
I didn't know, but I was fat.
Were you really?
Not fat. I wasn't fat, but I was probably like 10 pounds overweight. And so when I look at pictures of me,
Yeah.
even like raising my kids, like
Yeah.
little kids, I'm like, oh, I was a little round,
chunky?
like just a
little full?
in the face, just
Yeah.
lacked. But I might, yeah. I'll
Okay,
get
so give me the
sidetracked.
bio. What was it?
Uh,
Smart,
yeah,
super intelligent.
I'm gifted, right? I can't even take credit for my intelligence. I have a bad memory. I don't have a great memory, but I can solve problems.
Right, okay.
That's
Gotcha.
That's kind of, so I did good in school, and I had a natural drive to finish. I'm a task crusher. I tell
Yeah.
my wife, like, I want to finish things.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when she's talking about ideas, just we're talking about like what we could do with Sunday Social Club and how we could do it. She's just free form, like
yeah.
talking about all the realm of the
Dreams
possible.
and ideas and
And in my mind, I'm like, I'm
You're
thinking of
losing
how
your
to
mind.
execute. That's so much stuff. So we've had to talk about that. When because she can analyze her, and it's a gift I do
Yeah.
not have. I'm like, give me 3 options. Let's pick one and go. Unless one's terrible, we'd have 3 legitimate options.
right.
She can go for hours, like solid, like looking at every option. And early on when we got married, I was looking, I'm like, wow, this is a lot. But then I started to see, oh wow, because of her ability to go deep and long on analyzing something that I didn't really care that much about, we had a far better outcome. And that was my wake up call of like, God gives us all different gifts, and
Yeah.
if we don't use those gifts and
Right.
and honor those gifts and praise them for those gifts, we're missing out. We're both losing out. So that's been a fun little part of that. But so anyway, my bio was that
Your sperm donating bio. Let's get
my
down to the
sperm donate. I can't release they didn't ask about size.
Oh geez. Here we
so
go. Here we go. Oh, you sure did get picked a lot, huh?
After the reduction though, it's normal.
Oh
so.
gosh. This is why you got picked a lot.
I didn't lie. No, they don't ask that. But they're just like, it's more your
A lot of confident men were walking around this world because of you.
hilarious. They put that down.
Hilarious.
At least I thought so. Yeah, they put.
All right. So when you said, am I in play? What did she say? Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like,
She could tell you that.
Yeah, and I figured, I don't know why I thought this. I thought, okay, you're gathering sperm in San Diego.
Yeah.
You're not going to use the sperm in San Diego, right? You're going to ship it out somewhere else.
Ship it out.
Like we got to mix up the
Put it on
gene
a freight
pool.
ship to like Italy or something.
I probably have kids that are marrying each other right now.
Oh my gosh, bro.
So I gotta so I do this for a few years, and we fast forward. I play water polo, so that's definitely the thing that probably keeps me the most healthy, like
Yeah.
hard physique.
Yep.
And so I'm going to this water polo tournament, and I pull up. It's like a Saturday, and my phone rings. Hello, is this John? Yeah. Who's this? This is Bob. Okay, Bob. What can I do for you? So are you? And he just starts asking me some random questions, and I'm like, Bob, hey, I'm running into something. What are you calling me about? He's like, well, my wife, she is a bit upset right now, and our daughter, and da 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 da. And he's not clear about what he's saying, but I start to figure it out because I had this young girl who works at Illumina send me a LinkedIn request. And I'm like, that's weird. Like we're not in the same field, or it didn't really make sense. And I'm like, what's your last name, Bob? And he tells me, and I'm like, is your daughter? Yeah. I'm like, oh, so basically, my son, when he was applying to college, we thought we had some Native American Indians. So we're like, let's do a genealogy test, and we can verify that, and that'll use in your application, and that'll be. So we do that, and then when you get your results back, it's like, do you want to be able to see connections, genealogical connections, and you make it public? And I'm like, sure, not thinking about that I was a sperm donor.
Oh no.
So I figure out that Bob is the father or not father of my daughter, and his wife is upset because they never told the daughter and her sister and their brother, who are all mine.
Oh my gosh.
And when I figured this out, I'm like, Bob, okay, Bob, I think you're pretty lucky that you have some wonderful kids, but what do you want from me? Are you wanting money or something? He's like, no, you just need to take down your profile because you're going to ruin a lot of other families. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it down. Click. I go home. I do the water polo tournament, come home, take it down, make it
What do you mean profile? On LinkedIn?
No, genealogy.com.
Oh, genealogy.
Yeah. Or Ancestry. I forget which one.
Okay.
But anyway, so I go into my profile and like make it private. So I make it private. Going back Sunday for the second day of the tournament. Ring, ring. Bob. Hey, John. What can I do for you? They're like, I just want to thank you for taking down your profile. I'm like, you're welcome, Bob. Like what? But so fast forward. So I think, okay, well, my
This is in San Diego?
they're in San Diego.
Oh my gosh.
Cute girl, looks very similar to my daughter in a lot of ways. But so my daughter, I tell my kid, I have to tell my kids because they have half siblings, and I'm not a privacy person. I sleep really well at night. I don't keep secrets.
Right.
So I tell them, and
Stealing from Wells Fargo. Sure, of course.
yeah,
Gotcha.
look at me. I'm like an open
Great
book.
Great
Open
track
book.
record. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Lying
many
to the FBI. Yeah, of course.
That's the thing. If I ran for president, I would list everything
done.
I've ever done wrong. No, I would just put it all out there.
Yeah,
And there's nothing for them
You'd be
to
like
find.
Eminem and when he sings the rap song and self-deprecates himself.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
That'd be
yeah.
you.
That'd be me.
Of course I stole from Wells Fargo. And yes, of course I lied to the FBI. Who doesn't?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Shoot me. All right, good.
So I have a lot of children in San Diego is the understanding. So I make it private, but now my daughter, who's all this is still on there, she's having all these other half siblings pop up on her thing. And she's like, so one of them pops up and is like 2 blocks away from us in Carlsbad hanging out, whose birthday is the same as mine, whose mother's name is Sherry, which is my ex-wife's name. So it's like, long and short of it is I have a lot of me out there.
Wow.
But I wouldn't have never,
That's incredible, dude. Like, what does
Yeah.
that feel like?
It's kind of surreal. So the one girl who reached out, when I found out, I reached out. I said, hey, I talked to your dad. This was just on LinkedIn. I said, hey, I talked to your dad. If you ever have any
This
questions.
is Bob's daughter.
Bob's daughter. My daughter. Bob's
you're-
just posing.
Yeah. Bob's just posing.
He's a pretend dad. No.
Oh
No, I want to retract that because I don't want to make light of anyone who wrestles with that.
Of course.
What I would have done different, though, is I wouldn't have hit it.
Yeah.
I would have told my kids. I just don't think there's anything to be gained by that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Mackenzie reached out and basically wanted to know is do you have issues in your family tree of like agoraphobia or anxiety?
Yeah.
So and that's something she couldn't really track because they didn't have access to me, just the mom. It wasn't apparently on the mom's side. I said, actually, we do have a bit of that, particularly with the women in my family. That has been something that's aware of,
Yeah.
And so, and I said, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. Like, I'm not going to go try and insert myself into their life and say, I'm your real dad. Let's, you better be at my house for Thanksgiving.
Right.
But I want to know she has access if she ever wanted to.
Wow.
Get
It's
to know.
incredible, dude.
Bizarre.
Yeah. I can't believe this. It's nuts.
Yeah.
All right. So get through college. Give me, after what you do when you got out of college.
So I started out physics engineering, because I thought so highly of my intellect.
Yeah.
That I thought I wanted to work on fusion, nuclear fusion, because I thought that's such a great idea.
Yeah. Sounds great.
So then
Sounds so interesting.
Fusion's
But
awesome.
I almost did that actually.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
I thought you looked like
So
a
I was like
fusion
this.
guy.
I was like this close.
I'm like total fusion guy. The first
And I
time
thought,
saw
nah, I'll
you,
join the
JD.
Navy. I'll go to boot camp instead.
You are a fusion guy. You're fusing red light therapy and cryotherapy.
That is correct. I'm fusing red light into the mitochondria of our cells.
No, I'm actually very fired up to try that out because I have
yeah.
a buddy who's a hardcore
It's
red
phenomenal.
light guy, and he's a specimen.
Literally the fountain of youth.
I believe it.
Yeah.
That's funny because like God's referred to as light so much in the Bible.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
you have red light, and you know if I do treatment for my prostate cancer, I'm doing proton therapy, which is a laser.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's fascinating
It
how
is.
light comes around.
Absolutely.
So college, I started out physics engineering. I told you about that girl I met who was not great. So I'm late nights, you know, making out at that spot from Anchorman, looking out down at the harbor a number of nights.
Yeah.
So I'm going to physics class, and I had the I can't blame it all on the teacher, but this guy, you know, we're talking about physics. It's not interesting when you get into the granularity and just the pure science. You need a storyteller.
Right.
I needed a storyteller to maintain my attention from sleep deprived evenings. But so I come into class, sit down, and he would get up on the board, and I started to bring in my recorder, you know, so if in case I fell asleep, I could like listen to it later. But it basically just became a sleep aid. I should have saved it. I could have sold it.
Yeah.
Like if you were trouble sleeping, listen to this guy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He would just get up on the board, welcome class, and he'd get up on the whiteboard. He'd turn around and he would just see his back for the entire class. He would just be writing on the board, talking to the board, like zero.
talk to the board.
Zero personality. Like he may have turned around occasionally, you know, but so bad. But I don't blame him because I did try, and on my own time, like, okay, let's listen, let's understand. When you get into space physics, and there's things about physics that I just don't agree with.
Yeah.
Like when you're calculating friction, they're like, this has an upward force. This table, you have to calculate the upward force of this table in order to. I'm like, if there's a force here, I move my hand, then it should go up. It doesn't. Like I had some things that I just couldn't get my head around, so I wasn't great at it. But basically,
And that's why I didn't go to physics, by the way. This exact thing.
you're smarter than me, JD.
I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm not even going to bother with this trivial stuff. It's ridiculous.
Well, you saved a lot of time because we still haven't figured out fusion.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
But so anyway, I realized I'm really not as smart as I thought I was, and this isn't my calling. So and then I had a roommate whose father owned a law firm, and he's like, "You should be a lawyer," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll be a lawyer." You know, so then I switched to speech communications, and I start taking speech classes. I'm picturing myself in law, you know, in the courtroom doing great things. And so while I'm working at Wells Fargo, you know, part time, I see all these attorneys coming in. And they're just depositing fat checks. You know, they're just like it's the most money I've ever seen. You know, but they're all miserable.
Yeah.
They're all just miserable. I'm like, maybe this doesn't look like a great career. You know,
Right.
I didn't really do a lot of research, but in hindsight, looking back, I mean, the legal career is a brutal one. It's
Yes.
basically enslavement where you get paid a reasonable amount of money. So I decide after that that I don't want to be a lawyer and maybe I'll be a computer programmer. So I get a computer programming minor at the last minute, graduate 93. I did next year. I met my first wife. I'm lifeguarding in the summers and I'm claiming unemployment during the school year. That's kind of how I was
yeah.
working the system as best
Yes.
I could. You
Yeah.
know,
I did that as well.
you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, no. I was getting a GI Bill.
But classic example of government money just being pissed away.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I don't know about you, when I first started getting unemployment, you'd send in a form, right, every 2 weeks or something,
Yeah.
and you had to list which jobs you applied for
Right.
and all that sort of stuff. And then like the next year or maybe it's 2 years later, like you just had to send in a form, and then it just became like you just got to check.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's no verification. And it used to be, I heard, when you wanted to get unemployment, you had to show up at an office dressed to get a job
Right.
or to interview.
Yeah.
Think of how much of the money that's being fraudulently taken by people who are capable of working are offered jobs but pass on it because like I make more not working.
Right.
All that would just be poured back into our debt. I
Yeah.
don't want to go dark on the
Yeah,
debt.
yeah,
but
yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So I graduate. I'm trying to get a computer programming job, and I run into the age-old dilemma of you need to have experience for this job. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get experience for this job if no one will give me a job? You see the dilemma here?
Yeah.
So I can't find a programming job. 93 wasn't a great hiring time. I think the economy wasn't ideal. So I'm married. I basically got married August 92. I got married before I graduated college.
Wow.
So I'm married, and I don't really have a job. I'm graduating, so I go to Apple One unemployment agency, like temp staffing. I'm like, I'll just get a job here and make some extra bucks until I find something. And while I'm sitting in there, I hear the lady talking like, yeah, we need to hire someone to be like a technical recruiter or whatever. So the lady comes up. I'm like, I'd be great at that job. And like, what? I'm like, you said a technical recruiter. I'm a programmer. And so I interview, get that job. That's my first real job. 35 grand a year, Apple One.
Yeah.
Rolling in the dough.
Oh yeah.
That's like $1 million.
That's big time
today.
Yeah, big time.
35 grand. Yeah. So that started that, and then I pivoted. I moved over to another firm, got a raise to be like a sales manager of me.
Yeah.
But I love technology, so I put in a bunch of boring stuff. Then I had a friend who said, hey, we're having lunch. We hung out in PB together, this guy Dan, and he was doing technology sales. And he's like, oh, yeah, my old boss called me, and he wants to bring me over to this job, and it's offering 60 grand a year, but I love where I'm at. I'm making more money than I'm like, 60 grand a year? That's a lot of money. I said, I'll interview. He's like, I'll set you up. So I interview and get that job, Business Objects. And so I started, that was my first software sales. That's where I got into technology, doing sales. And then, because you heard Elon Musk, the story where like he did this experiment to see if he could live off nothing for an extended period of time, and then that gave him the courage to then go do things that were high risk. Well, I wasn't that calculated about it, but I did have that same sense of I've been pretty fearless about not being afraid to fail because I've been very low. I've been through all this, so 0% chance of the shot you don't take kind of mindset. So early on, I left software sales to create my own company. This other Christian smart guy called it TriWise, like Trinity and Wisdom and play on words. And so we started selling what I'd been selling for the corporation, because what I realized in sales, and this applies, I think, a lot in life when we're in careers and we're wrestling with income to time ratio, is when you work for a big company. And if you use the hunting analogy, I go hunt the elephant for the big company, and they give me, a pound of meat. And I'm like, I could go catch a rabbit and get 2 pounds of meat. I can catch a lot more rabbits. So I logically to me, it made no sense what I was getting for what I was giving. And so I started my own company, and it was fascinating because I really felt I was praying and asking God, is this what you want me to do? Is this just a John idea? Something I wrestled with many times in my life. Is this God or John coming up with this? And so I felt like really like God was like, do it. And so, he connects me with this Christian guy. And so we do it. And then we're 6 months in and we haven't made a penny.
What age was this? 24, 25, 26-ish?
30.
Okay, 30. Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe 28, 30, somewhere in that range. And so I'm going down. It's been like 6 months, no money. And my mom and grandfather had just been murdered, and I had a mortgage. So there's some things going on all simultaneously, which I'll tell you about that.
Okay, later. Hold on a second here. Wait, what?
My mom,
by the way.
Yeah. Well, because it goes into the story. I mean. Let me finish this because I'll forget it, and it's an important thing to make.
Okay, go.
Important point to make. So I'm going to this Billy Graham. He did his crusades, and they would have churches would get people to go be up front. Someone could come up and pray with you and that sort of thing. So I heard about this. I'm like, I'll do that. That sounds cool. So I go through the training, and now I'm driving down to the Billy Graham crusade, and I'm like, so God, what's up with the start your own company, but I don't have any money. I just lost my parents. I'm raising kids. What is it you want from me? What do you want? Do you want everything? And that was it, man. That was like sorry, man.
And he said yes.
That was the pivotal moment in my life.
Wow.
That's it. He just wants everything. And literally, like the next day, all the stuff we've been working on starts closing.
Wow.
And it's like so simple, but so hard. He just wants everything. He doesn't want a portion.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who like, I sold my house and here's all the money. And he's like, is that all the money? And he's like, yeah, dead.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there's something about everything. And you can tell when you meet someone who's submitted.
I was just going to say, is this a submission thing, a surrendering thing?
Yeah. Like total surrender is total freedom. Like my cancer. I'm like, oh, I got cancer. I could die. God has the pen. And, you know, going back to perspective, I could look at that as like really tragic. Or I could also look at it from the lens of like, if I was ever if I'm to get a cancer, prostate cancer is a good one.
Yep.
If there's a time to get cancer, this is a great time to get cancer because the treatment options are incredible. We know more about nutrition and cellular body, and there's like so many angles. And now I know that the cancer is growing because I had it. We knew I had it, but my wife is obviously having the news kind of rocked her a bit. I'm like, look, honey, we knew I had cancer. We knew God was either going to heal it, take it away, or it'd have to be treated. And now we know that it needs to be treated.
Yeah.
So this is good.
Yep.
And so, you know, the one thing we all have in common is we're all going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so God knows when that day and time is. I'm not going to worry about it. So that perspective on all these circumstances, but when you surrender, then that lets you know, you see people that are tired, that are stressed, that are worried about a lot of things in life. And it's because we're carrying around all these backpacks. This is how I look at it.
Yeah.
And when I talk with people I'm coaching, you're like, it's so heavy. I'm like, well, what are you carrying? What's in your backpack? Well, I have my finances. I have my relationship. I have, you know, the business. I have my kid. Like, yeah, these are all, do you want to carry the weight of all those yourself? You can. But some of them you're just carrying around because you're choosing to pick them up. They're really not yours to carry.
Right.
And that was a transformative moment for me, that conversation with God. What do you want from me? Everything? And he's like, yeah. Just
Wow.
like tears
Wow.
started coming down. I felt like I was in my car in that moment. That's like, sorry, I started crying, but it was so.
Had you not surrendered up to that point? Is that what you're thinking here?
Well, I think you can think, well, I'm doing what God's called me to do, and think that's surrendering. It's not the same thing.
Right.
That's not the same thing. Surrendering is I'm doing what God told me to do, but I'm trusting him in the outcome.
Yes.
That's different.
Yes.
I'm still on the hook for the outcome without the surrender part.
This is the past year that's been the number one word for me. Is fully surrendering.
Yeah.
And lately, with the amount that I've been carrying,
Yes.
I've in the last 2 weeks has been the most groundbreaking 2 weeks for me to surrender and just give it to him.
Love it.
Let him
dude.
carry it,
Love it.
because I can't carry it anymore.
We can't
There's no way.
do it.
No.
All we can do is try. I mean, you're strong. You carry a lot. But
Yeah, I can carry a lot.
But our heart and soul, you know, it's like when God's a part. We just started watching The Chosen, which I've been meaning to watch forever, and it's like the first episode, kind of like, but it's so good.
Really?
You know, it's so good.
I haven't watched it yet.
We're watching it with my daughter and my wife. We're all watching it. Really great show. Yeah, like you just see Jesus, the way they portray him, they do a great job. You see, there's like some humor. There's the caring, there's the non-judgmental, but there's surrender components of it. Like, because imagine you're sitting on a boat, you know, you're like, I'm a fisherman, I've been doing this all my life, and then some guy's like, hey, come follow me, and you're like, okay, my whole identity, I'm just a follower. But you know, he had to be a compelling guy in order for you to do that.
Of course.
But yeah, surrender's definitely at the key of that.
Okay, so that moment, and then but leading up to that moment.
Yeah, leading up to that moment. So, Mary.
You said it was your mom and grandfather?
My mom and grandfather, yeah. So, my mom,
Yep.
my grandfather, and my step grandmother, I guess would be my real grandmother, like died of cancer, like lung cancer or something. So I never met her. But so my grandparents are living in Lake Arrowhead, and they hear about this mom who's raising a son by herself. Like the dad bailed on him, and he's like 14 years old or something. And so they hear about this, like, hey, we want to help out this family. So they tell the kid, hey, you can come do all these little fixer-upper jobs in our house, and we'll pay you, you know, teach a man to fish sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the kid does this. Well, fast forward, 8 years, and my grandfather and my mom are hanging out at the house because my aunt left town, and so my aunt's like, go be with
Is it kid working for them the whole time?
No, like on and off.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know the exact history of how often all that, but the net result was they're up there. They hire him to do some work, is what we found out after, and so they come over. We can't get a hold of him basically. So my mom and grandfather are up there. No one can get a hold of him.
The kid.
No, we can't get a hold of my mom and
Oh,
grandfather.
okay.
So this is before.
Gotcha.
So the kid's 22, 23 now. So we can't get a hold of him. My grandfather would rent the place out. He was like very much about money, being Depression era kind of thing. Like he was
Yes.
smart with it.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had a lot of it, but you wouldn't know necessarily. So we figure, he's probably renting it out, so they're probably maybe staying in Palm Springs or something. They would drive down. He had an RV, and so we can't get a hold of him. I end up calling the house, and this guy answers, like, hello. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I hang up. I'm just figuring like it's a renter. And so that's where this theory comes from. But we still don't hear anything. We can't get a hold of him. And so eventually my dad's calling the police, whatever. And then the security company they had hired, we got a hold of them and said, hey, go check out the house, go see what's going on. And so they go up there, and the short story is this kid that they had hired, who's now 23, him and his buddy are heroin addicts. They don't know this, and they were doing the work, and they come over and they just bludgeon my grandfather and strangle my mom to death, and then put him in the basement, and we're just hanging out having party. My sister, who became a heroin addict for not surprising reasons with her childhood, got invited to the party. She was living down in Orange County somewhere. She got invited to the party.
Them not knowing
Any connection. It's just a circle of. So it gets weirder, believe it or not.
So did your sister go there and realize that's...
She didn't go. She just got invited. Yeah.
Okay.
So these guys basically they got caught driving my aunt's car, and they get pulled over.
So hold on. So the party's going on.
The party, I don't know. The party they threw a party.
Yep.
We don't know any of this yet, right? But in hindsight, we realized this party my sister was invited to, she did not go. We can't get a hold of my mom and grandfather. So, I think a week or so has passed. We haven't been able to get a hold of anyone. So the guys that did it are driving the car in Lake Arrowhead. They get pulled over, and they're like, whose car is this? Doesn't match up. They take them in to jail because they're going to figure this out. They don't know anything about the murder or anything.
Right.
So the security company finds out about it. The guy.
So hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
The security company, didn't they go up to check the house
After. So these guys are basically.
after a week?
Yeah. Well, we didn't, because we thought maybe they were just out somewhere. Like
Yeah.
it didn't. We're just assuming the best.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
no one's
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah,
No
right,
one's
of
thinking
course.
they got murdered. Like that's
Yeah.
just the craziest
Okay.
thing in the world.
Okay.
So they're in prison, or they're in jail temporarily while they figure out whose car this is and who these guys are. We can't get a hold of them. We call security company. Security company goes up. The guy who goes up, oddly, another bizarre coincidence. The guy from the security company that goes to the house and basically finds them is my sister's boyfriend's dad. Weird.
Okay.
Very weird.
Yes.
So he goes in the house, finds the bodies in the basement, but they'd been living there for like, I don't know, 3-4 days. Just like, this is our new house.
While they were deceased in the basement.
In the basement. Yeah. So
What happened from that point? Did security call you? Was like, we've got a problem here?
I think the police were the ones that ended up calling. I remember sitting in my office when I got the call, and again, I had just started this company. I had 2 little kids, a mortgage, stay-at-home mom, and I'm not taking bereavement. I mean, like I just it was just
You
like,
got the call.
yeah, and I'm like, you're just in shock. How do you can't make sense of those things. It's so crazy, and I don't think I even cried right away. It was just it was too hard to understand or fathom.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of resentment later on about because my ex-wife like didn't like my mom, so I really didn't see her a lot. Here's the kind of person my mom was. She's basically living kind of in her car, maybe like in a little studio or something. And she calls me one day and she says, "Hey Johnny, I hate to ask you this because I'm in college, student loan, paying everything." And she's like, "I hate to ask you this, but my tooth is really hurting. Is there any way you could like give me some money to go to the dentist?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do what I can." So I sent her money and then follow up her, I think it's the next week, or talk to her a couple weeks later. "How's it going? Is your tooth better?" She's like, "Actually, I met someone who needed the money more than me and I gave it to them."
Wow.
Yeah. So that's, so that's kind of person my mom was. And so at the funeral, so I'm at the funeral for my mom in Rose Hills, and all these people come. I had some people I knew from high school that came, but I was a bunch of homeless people. Or like she was basically living in the streets, a witness to homeless people. That's what she was doing the last part of her life. And so I get up there and I do
Saving people on the streets.
yeah, just loving them, just tell them about Jesus. Yeah.
Wow.
So I get up there and my eulogy is something to the fact of my mom was a failure in the world's eyes. She didn't have a big house. She didn't make a lot of money. She didn't have a great career. But at looking at
You delivered this?
yeah. And like these people that have nothing were so touched by her, they're like wailing. They're like, some of them are shouting, like they're so mad. But I'm like, this is the measurement of a life well lived. Is if you can impact people the way my mom impacted people, the marginalized, not that, look, it's not hard for good looking, rich, wealthy people to get attention and get help and get freebies and all that. But what about the people that are not that? What are the people that weren't born with those gifts, circumstances, abilities? Who's loving them? And so that probably another major line on a timeline of what's impacted you, who you are, and what motivates you is like, I want to live as Paul said, I want to live a life well lived, one that we run the race, and pursue the prize, and that just going back to perspective,
Wow.
that's important.
Whew. How many people were at this funeral?
It was probably, I would guess, 60 people.
And the
or so.
majority
were these homeless people.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I don't even know how
did they find out?
I don't even know. I really don't know. I don't know if there's a bitch. I mean, I don't picture they read the paper, but somehow they knew. I don't know if there was a church that was connecting them all, and I just don't know. But these people were there, and they loved her, and she changed. She touched their hearts.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
very beautiful and aspirational for me. When I looked at my mom often, growing up, I was like annoyed a lot of times by her and kind of like, I wish
Yeah.
why couldn't you just give me a normal life?
Yeah.
There's some of that.
Wow.
And she did God's work, and I think God saw her heart and her love for him and said, you can come home early. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. This is going to sound maybe a little bit weird and warped, but here we are.
Yeah.
JD.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was literally preaching to them with hand around throat.
Yeah.
Jesus
there's no
loves
question.
you, And so it took them 9 years to sentence these guys.
There's no question she was, bro.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
and they were so far out of their mind it didn't even.
Yeah. It's
It
pretty
took
wild.
9 years.
9 years they were in prison waiting sentencing. So they had, because they were pursuing the death penalty, the district attorney, would build his case and get ready to go to trial, and then they would get promoted or something, and a new district attorney. So it just kept resetting.
But they were in jail the whole time.
They're in jail the whole time, just awaiting trial. So 9 years finally goes by. They finally have the trial. We go in, and the defense attorney is basically telling the story of what a difficult life these two guys had, growing up. Basically, they're victims, not, or
Right. Yeah.
there were circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't take away from that. So they call me up to the stand, the defense attorney, and he says, "So, isn't it true that your mom was a Christian?" And I said, "Yeah, that's true." "And what does Christianity say about forgiveness? Would she forgive them?" And I said, "Well, I don't think it'd be fair for me to speak on my mom's behalf, given that these two men murdered her." No further questions, Your Honor. You're not going to bait me into some, and she probably would, but
Of course she would.
yeah. And I actually tried to get I was going to Horizon Christian Fellowship in Rancho Santa Fe at the time. Like, our kids went to school there. And I actually asked the pastor, I'm like, "Would you go to the prison with me and talk to these guys? Like, this could be a chance for us to say, you're still loved by Jesus. It's not too late." And he pawned me off to someone who didn't call me back. I was really bummed.
Oh wow.
Hats off to you, Bob Botsford. No. I know he's a good guy. He's busy. But
Yeah.
I was a little bummed by that, because I was
Wow.
like, that's kind of big. Something big happened in my life.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a pastor and you don't handle those circumstances without pawning it off, or he did a prayer with me. I shouldn't be talking about this. A little bummed, but we're being
Yeah.
real. It's
Yeah.
the real deal.
It's real deal, bro.
So,
This ain't fake deal talk. This ain't fake talk.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Wow. Jeez, man. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
but she's at heaven. My grandfather
Wow.
had Alzheimer's. He was good, but he was, starting to have incidents.
This interview is brought to you by Real Deal Wellness. This is my wife and I started a wellness center about a few months ago, and this is a big deal because we're making wellness affordable for everyone. That's the mission here. We offer red light therapy, cryotherapy, infrared sauna, compression therapy, halotherapy, which is dry salt therapy, at a price that's never been seen before in the wellness industry. It's a membership-based business. You join, you have unlimited access to our center for less than $100, $99 a month. Real Deal Wellness. Come down, join the club, join the mission. Let's go.
So I think God.
What did the guys do when you were in the trial? When you were in the courtroom? Was there any remorse? Was there any? Are they just so far out of their?
I would have to think they're not heavily using drugs still 9 years into it. I guess they smuggle stuff in, but they seemed, they were just kind of looking. They didn't seem angry. They didn't seem sad. They're just probably, imagine 9 years in jail. You get a little bit numb probably
Yeah.
to stuff, and you're just
yeah.
like, whatever, like, kill me, don't kill me. I don't really know.
Wow.
But they did not get the death penalty. They got life in prison. So they're still
with no
there.
eligibility for parole.
No eligibility for parole. Yeah.
Did you ever Did you go into the church with? I'm sorry, the prison. Did you?
No,
ever?
I didn't go alone. I didn't want to go alone.
Mm.
And I think it's one of those moments. You ever have that moment where you're like, this is what I should do, and the term limbic friction.
Yeah.
So you have those moments where the limbic friction is very low, and you can decide or you can strategize about what you can and should do, and then if things don't go right in that window of time, you're like, I guess I'm not going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of one of those. Like, I had the courage in that moment to say, hey,
Yeah.
come with me, be with me, and to go do this. And then when it happened, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing it. Doesn't mean I couldn't still, but
True.
I haven't really thought about it in a while.
And how, 9 years ago, when they were sentenced, how long ago was that from now?
So
that had to be in-
It's probably been 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you ever hear from your mom? Do she ever talk to you?
Like,
You ever see her in a dream? Does she ever talk to you in a dream or anything?
I haven't, but my sister has.
Mm.
Yeah. My mom used to always dream about flying. She's like, I was dreaming I was flying. I'm like, that's cool. I want to dream about flying. The best I've gotten is levitating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a
Hey,
little
that's good.
levitation.
To start.
But I do pray about mom. And so here's the funny thing. So my sister, as I mentioned, was a heroin addict. She had at least two boyfriends die of heroin overdoses. It's an absolute miracle that she's alive. And when I, you early on, you're like, yeah, I created a business and sold it, which is true, but it's not because John's great. I 100% believe these are the prayers of my mom answered.
Wow.
After the fact that my sister's alive and actually doing well, she married this great guy and is clean, miracle. Like, that does not happen in the depths and the duration of which she was
Right.
in that place. That is, and so it's funny because when I was growing up, my mom would be like, circumstance A, B, C, right? Power's out, no food, whatever. Don't worry, I'm praying. We'll pray. And I grew up going, yeah, not sure that's working, Mom. Do you have a plan B? Like, can you go maybe get a job? But she would we'd come home and there'd be a couch in the living room. Where'd you get that couch? She's like, it was someone left it on the street. Now we have a couch. Like, my bed was some bed that someone left somewhere. Like, she'd go pick oranges off trees, and she'd get groceries from the trash. Like, they threw out bananas or whatever that are too old to be sold but are edible. So I grew up really strange.
Wow.
But where was I going with that? I had an idea in mind.
Something with mom about, I think it was,
flying. Yeah. Oh, it was the prayer. So I grew up with the prayers going, I don't think it's working. In hindsight, God did answer those prayers. It just wasn't then. Like, the prayers, don't return void, right? And so that's something I learned and I recognize, is that when I pray for something and it doesn't happen right away, that doesn't mean God's answer isn't yes. I mean, sometimes his answer is no. And we have to trust that when it's no, it's for a darn good reason.
Yeah.
And I don't need to have any regret or remorse that it didn't go a yes. For example, do you ever play the lottery?
Yes.
I do too. Like, right now it's like 700 million or something.
Yeah.
And I go, well, and so when it got really big, I go well, I'm going to go buy 10 lottery tickets or, increase my odds. And then I realize, if God wants me to win the lottery,
Yeah.
he doesn't need more than one ticket. If he
right.
doesn't want me to win the lottery, I don't want to win the lottery.
Yeah.
And so, should we as Christians play the lottery?
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I mean, because God could open that door. I mean,
Exactly.
Statistically, a lot of people are worse off after winning the lottery, but of course, you and I know we're different.
Oh yeah, of course. We're ready. We're
Yeah.
ready. We're ready for it.
Yeah,
I would be more than ready, and I would exactly know how to handle it. We're ready to go.
I mean,
The team's in place.
do you have your strategy?
I got
What do
everything, dude.
You do, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I got
do too.
the attorneys, the CPA, I've got everything.
I would go full time into. I'd go hard on widows and orphans. That
Yeah.
verse in the Bible, like the children in orphanages or in not adoption, whatever. What's the word? Foster.
Yeah.
In the foster system, there's so many, and they get lost, and they
Yeah.
have very difficult paths. So I would go hard on that, and widows, and it'd be fun to kind of use what I feel like my gifts and talents are related to organizational
Right.
strategy, and
Yeah.
use that for kingdom work at a grand scale. And so I go, well, God could easily make only Christians win the lottery. Have you ever thought about that?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why not, God? Why not just take all the money that's being used for ill and we could channel it? And I was thinking about it, I'm like, I think my own hypotheses. The reason is we would rob everyone else from having their role in all of this kingdom work.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
So when someone's saying, can you just donate $5 to the thing? Well, if all the Christians win the lottery, no one needs to ask for $5. It's all there. And now we're
Right.
running on basically a worldly financial system
Yeah.
instead of the heavenly one. The heavenly one involves
A lot
the
of-
earlier point, which is asking for help.
Yeah.
And
And a
doing
lot
it
of
in
and
community.
faith and trust,
Yeah.
surrendering. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a whole nother. This is a whole podcast in and of itself, right here, bro.
Right. For sure.
Wow, Whew,
Yeah.
man, I am blown away by this one now, man. Oof. So you said that your sister has heard from her or sees her in a dream.
She's seen her in dreams. I haven't heard of her like hearing anything, but we talk about my mom, and I know her hands, her prayers prior to passing are alive and well and being executed daily.
Yep.
And I even had that circumstance with my daughter. So my daughter went through some really rough patches, kind of emotionally. And I remember one day I'm praying, I'm like, your daughter, right? Your kids on your heart. It's like so loud. It's so ever front of mind when they're hurting. And so I God, can you please just keep her safe, And I don't have many of those like I heard God's voice kind of moments, but it was kind of one of those, and it was just like this loud like, I have been.
Yeah.
Like what I heard was, you have no idea of all of the things that I have done to keep her where she's at and to keep her on this path. It was such a loud, it was just like, it was like, bow down, God, keep up the great work.
Yeah.
You're doing awesome. Just keep.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I stand corrected. You are the man, and I am not afraid. And so it's shifting. I really started to shift my prayers after that moment to thanking God for what he's doing.
Yeah.
And completely trusting the outcome.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's most of my prayers now. Every minute of every day is just thanking him.
Love it.
Thank you for this. Thank you for my daughter. Thank you for this. Even the pain and suffering I'm going through with business. Thank you.
Yes.
I thank him for it because I know he's transforming me. He's got something
That's
on the
it.
other end.
That's it.
I know you got something on the other end of this for me. I know it. So I'm in.
That is spot on.
Yeah.
If you want me to fail, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you got something for me.
That's because you have something better down the road.
Yep. For me, ultimately for the kingdom, because you know the bigger impact I'm going to make when you got me stepping into who you've called me to be.
Great segue about my first marriage.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So go now. Get to. So you've been the second marriage now has been how long?
6
Pretty
years.
recent. 6 years. Okay.
Yeah, we've been married 6 years. We
Give me
started,
the business. Sorry. My apologies here. Business. Anything else with the business between then and?
in terms of when I sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to crazy story. So I started this company that I sold in 2017, and I remember getting the first check, $100, whatever. So I've been selling for a long time, so I have some relationships. So I'm selling 2017. There's a buddy I used to work with who's in Texas. I go out and meet with him. Awesome guy, and he has a company he's been running for a little bit. And I'm like, we should merge, because he's an engineer and I'm a sales marketing guy.
Yeah.
Let's merge. So we merged these companies. We're 50-50. And so then 6 months or so go by, and there's this other company out of Colorado that I had tried to get a company that I had owned 5% of before to acquire. And the owners were like, no, it's too expensive. I'm like, how much? And like, well, we just think it's like, they didn't really, I'm like, that was my genesis for leaving. Cause I'm like, I don't think you guys can execute on things.
Yeah.
So I reached out to them. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like you've been selling $3 million a year for 20 years. And that's
Right.
I'm selling $3 million. I did it in a year. What if we, so,
Yeah.
so we talked to them, they agreed to merge. So I'm like, how funny is that? I'm going to now, be a part owner of this company with no money involved, just equity. So we get to we're getting all the legal stuff and we're putting all this paperwork together, and my partner reaches out, and we're on one of these status calls. He's like, hey guys, I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to bow out. Like I'm getting divorced.
Ooh.
And I can't be involved with this because they're going to value my net worth at some crazy amount, and I'm going to get hosed. Like it's just not worth it. I'm just going to bow out. And it was like, don't buy me out anything, because it was okay. So now all of a sudden I'm like 33% owner. Well, get on the next weekly call, the other company's partner. He's like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm in the same situation as him. I got to bow out as well. So now
Getting a divorce?
yeah. So now it's like, okay, now I own 50% of this company that I started in 2017. So that was just weird, nothing John did great, just like odd circumstantial stuff. And then I think we're like a couple years, 2019. So we merged in 2020, January 2020, and we formally merged. So I own 50% of this company. I'm thinking, I know how long it takes to sell a company, and I want to do kingdom work ultimately.
Yeah.
Like I want to bless people. I want to build what Pam and I talk about a lot of that. I want to build my eternal backyard. I want it to have a good view. I want to be closer to the worship center. Maybe I don't know. We don't know what eternal treasure looks like, but I trust it's going to be amazing, and I want some.
Right.
And so I want to do, and so because I'm hoping I can do something that's kingdom focused, I realize I need to start the process now, because it generally, it could take 3 to 5 years.
Right.
You're finding buyers and they're vetting and all that sort of stuff. So I make 2 phone calls to say, hey, what would it take? Is there anyone buying? To people I know. One of those calls leads to a call with the company that bought us and the CEO, and we're talking to him. He's like, "You play water polo?" And I'm like, "I do play water polo. Do you play water polo?" He plays water polo. So he's out of Canada. So we kind of hit it off, and we talk about what we do. We weren't a big company, JD. We were 15, 20 people, but we're very, very profit margin through the roof. Like we were.
What was annual sales?
I think 8 million or something.
Yeah.
With not that many people.
Right.
So big profit margin. You could have run it as a lifestyle business and kicked off a lot of cash every year, but my goal wasn't that. It was to be the time freedom.
Right.
So in like 3 months, they call we want to buy you. So like I merged in January, in September, they want to buy us. Like,
wow.
Can you close next month? I'm like, we need to go a full year. We're going to get rammed with taxes. So we ended up closing the deal in January 21.
Right. Perfect.
Which, again, this is not stuff, it's just God orchestrating things. Because Pam and I have been praying because of our prior marriage experiences and our love for and wanting to be part of the kingdom work, is we feel like we have very valuable life experiences, and we've read and been through a lot of therapy and learned and grown, and we want to pour into and give hope to people that are either starting a relationship or in a relationship that's struggling. And we during COVID, we were praying about that for a couple of years. Like, God, use us. We're available. We're talking to, when we're going to church, to pastors, like, hey, if you need, nothing happened. 2 years, just nothing. It was like, God, you hearing us, bro? We're here. We're ready. And then one day the phone rings. Literally, I did this SYMBIS training while we were during COVID. You're just killing time and saving your marriage before it starts. The Parrots wrote it. It's a good book. It's very popular, mainstream. It's this assessment test where each person fills it out, and then it gives you kind of cohesive view of how you guys align. And
what's the test called?
SYMBIS.
SYMBIS.
It's an acronym. SYMBIS. Saving your marriage before it starts.
Wow.
So I do this training. It's not like anything giant. I just train. I get the certification, put my name up there. 2 years later, after our praying and waiting and just wondering, I guess we didn't make the cut, huh, God? To be used. The phone rings. It's like a Florida area code, or it was a text, and I'm like, hey, looks like you're in Florida. We're in San Diego. We could work around the time zone, but yeah, we could help you and your fiance go through this content. Like, oh no, we're not in Florida. We're actually in San Diego. I'm like, oh, I'm in San Diego. Where are you? He's like, we're in Carlsbad. I'm like, I'm in Carlsbad. They literally rode their bike over to her house. We met with them for 6 weeks. They weren't Christians, great couple. They just wanted to go through this. And we did that. That was the beginning. And then then all of a sudden doors started open. And then this is a funny one. This is an interesting one too. When we think of God not giving us the blessings, or maybe we want something really bad.
Yeah.
And it seems to align with something godly.
Right.
That could be a spouse, right?
Yeah.
We're praying about, use us, God. And I said, sometimes when we want to be used, we need to create space for that to happen. There needs to be an empty spot on the table for God to put something there. And so we just continue to pray about that. And so Pam's a loan officer, and during COVID it was bonkers. We were on a honeymoon and she's working at midnight, doing it was endless. It was just crazy. So, and then in January or whatever, just completely off, not going from a flood to a slow stream to a trickle. It was just off. It was completely off. And like all of a sudden we have all this time.
What do you mean off?
Like no business, like no loans.
Really?
It just completely.
Was that January 22?
What year was that?
COVID was 20. COVID was still going.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was after. It might have been 2022. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at that.
Okay.
In heaven, I wanted, or if I could get, like you get that one. Can you heal this in my body? It would be like they can remember the dates and times and all that sort of stuff. I don't remember.
This is why in my podcast, the whole interview is like, wait, go back. hold on. So we left off exactly at this moment.
Yeah.
January 2020. So January, was it probably 22? Now I'm just fascinated because
it probably was 22.
So loans were flying, and then they just stopped.
Just stopped for her. It's not for everybody, but I know. I mean, the industry as a whole, when the interest rates jumped up, people stopped buying.
Right.
It's like
could have been 22, right?
The Fed started raising the rate in March of 22, and then they did that for a year, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been holding it since then. So.
Yeah. So you have this jacked up rate. All of a sudden, guess who has a ton of space in her life for something? And Pamela's incredibly talented and so detail oriented and strategic and wants to do everything with excellence. So that's the one area that her and I have to learn how to use each other's strengths, because I'm a good enough guy in a lot of circumstances, and she's an excellent person.
Love that.
But anyway, so now, like, what are you gonna do at that time? Well, I guess God's opening the door for us to like start to do something, and so that's when we launched 3 for 3 Marriages, the number 3 for 3, which is basically when she got divorced. The story she tells is she was praying to God, like, what am I gonna do? I'm divorced, 3 kids, I'm in my 40s, like no one's gonna want me. I'm not gonna find a good guy. I'm gonna settle. Like if I want emotional, spiritual, physical connection, I'm going to get at best 2 out of the 3. Like I'm going to get a great Christian guy who's like dorky and whatever, you just, or I'll meet a hot guy and he's not going to love Jesus, whatever it is. And so I didn't know any of this when I met her and we started dating. And then she actually got me this watch as a gift when we got engaged. And on the back, she had inscribed 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what is that? And so she tells me all this. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So since she's.
And what are the 3 again?
Emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Got it.
So emotional being like really your emotional health, emotional intelligence.
Yep.
Physical, like take care of yourself, the way you look, your general health and wellness. And spiritual, love Jesus. And it's about not settling is that what we teach. Don't settle and
I love this.
And start with yourself. Don't be
Always.
like, well, you are bad and this is how you're bad in all these areas. It's like, no, you start with yourself. Because you can't control anybody else.
Right.
You could never control your spouse. You could have wishes and desires. You could ask them for things. Vulnerability, which we shy away from. But you start in the mirror. How am I? Am I the person I'm looking for is looking for? Have you ever heard that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that started. So we then leaned into like, well, we know how to build companies and market and do all that. So Pam really has been a big driver of that, that brand and us.
When did that officially launch?
I think it was early 23.
Early 23. Okay.
Or maybe it might have been later 22. But yeah, we started and just on social media, and our goal is the overarching goal is to bring hope and inspiration to couples, and now singles. Really, is that you can have and. You should not, like this idea that we have in our culture today. And we saw, our parents' generation, there was a lot of, well, we're staying married because we got married.
Right.
And there's no measurement of quality. It's just, it's a pass fail. Marriage is a pass fail. And I don't believe that's definitely not God's desire for us. I mean, he does want us to honor the commitment of marriage. But his idea and design of marriage is that it's going to be amazing, that it's going to thrive, that the world will see a Christ-centered marriage and go, I want that. How do you have that? And the only ingredient that differs between a Christ-centric marriage and a non-Christ-centric marriage is Christ.
Yeah.
And it should be different. And so we teach, we developed a marriage masterclass and put together a bunch of content, and we take couples through it, through our church and stuff. And it's been so exciting to see people get these topics, because we look back when we developed it and we're like, we didn't know these things.
Yeah.
They're not hard.
Right.
Like no one told me how to do this. No one explained to me how to that conflict is actually an opportunity for intimacy. No one taught me that if I don't share my feelings, then I have no opportunity to have them met.
Right.
There's just so many basic principles that men, we speak logic, generally speaking, and women speak feelings, and we're wondering, like, why are they not hearing me? She's coming to me with all her fears, and I've given her solutions to all of these fears. What is wrong with this woman?
Yeah.
You haven't touched her emotions at all. She hasn't heard anything you've said. You might as well go leave the room and talk to yourself in the mirror. But if I honor your feelings and acknowledge and validate your feelings, then she can start to hear, maybe I should determine if she wants me to help solve the problem. But B, if she does, she's not going to hear my solution until I validate and honor her feelings. So just this love and respect mechanism. So we got all into that, developing all that, and spent a bunch of money developing a course. And we are absolutely terrible at making any money on it, which I'm proud of.
Yeah.
I view that as a feather in the cap, because that's not what we're about.
Yeah.
We're hoping someday maybe we do, but we want to use, even if we did make a bunch of money, the goal is to pour back into and just expand the reach of who we can help and bless. And there's so many great people in the space too, that we've met that are doing wonderful things, and we're by no means the only answer. We're just part of a bunch of people that God's inspired to try and build marriages that are a bright light in this world, that are legacies, So my failed marriage is a legacy. It's not a great one. God's doing healing and we're getting things we don't really deserve as outcome, but it's a legacy,
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
And so what would you say, because if there's anything that's needed, John, it's this, what you're doing.
Thank you, buddy.
I mean, top of the food, top thing that this society needs.
Yeah.
Because our divorce rate's 50% plus, right?
Not with Christians, but yes, it's
okay.
high. It's
overall,
higher than it should be. Yes.
Let's talk the whole secular Christians, everything, 50% plus.
Yep.
And in my opinion, that's the 50% that actually had the guts to do it.
Right. That's a great point.
There's another, 25, 30 that should be getting divorced, that are just settling.
Right.
Because the kids, we got to do it for the kids. Because that's what, right?
Yes.
Like how many actual harmonious, beautiful marriages? What's the percentage?
I would wait.
Give me a percentage here. Ballpark.
I haven't done the math on it, but just from my life experience, I would guess it's below 20%.
20%, okay.
Maybe below 10.
What's the main problem? Go there.
Okay.
Let's go there, because we got to talk obviously.
Yeah. I mean, there's
what's happening here?
There's a number of issues. One is love and respect. So, and many books written on the subject. So it's not new material, but I'm going to bring it up because it is a classic issue. Respect. God designed men to seek respect more than any other attribute.
Yep.
And this is what we tell the ladies. Granted, JD's this big guy with a husky voice and big muscles. He's a little boy in a big body trying to make his mom proud. You need to think about men in this way. And so what does that mean? If your wife was talking to you with the same sensitivity regarding that you're trying to make her proud, then she probably would say things a lot differently. So I'll use the classic example. You're driving to a place you drive to 5 times a week, and you happen to have, your GPS up. Like I put my GPS up to go home even when I know I'm going home, because I just like to know.
I do the same thing.
You do? Okay.
I went to pick up Johnny at a friend's house, 1.4 miles, 2 miles away in the community that we live in. And on the way home, the GPS is talking. Johnny goes, "Why are you using the GPS?" My son's 9.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I couldn't remember how to get out of the actual cul-de-sac that they were in.
Right.
Well, we don't need it now because, I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's still on, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yes, I feel you, brother.
Yeah. So I have it all the time. Like it tells me when I'm going to get home, and
Yeah.
whatever. It's just like habit. But so you're driving to a place you drive to 5 times a week,
Yes.
and you have GPS on. It's pointing how to get there, and your wife goes, I think it's faster if you get off right here.
Here we go. Here we go.
Well,
Here we go.
And what's her heart? What is her heart by sharing that with you? What is her intention?
They're good intentions. We're going to save some time.
Yeah, they're good intentions. Like we're a team. I'm helping you. I'm blessing you with the shortcut I know that's maybe not in the Google Map. Maybe it's not in the map system. We don't know. What do men hear? You think I'm an idiot, and you think if you weren't here, I wouldn't be able to tie my shoes and get to the destination. I'm exaggerating for effect, but
No, but this happens weekly with me.
It
like
happens-
on the way, like doesn't matter. Not to the anyway.
this
And then God forbid if I don't take the actual turn she tells me, and it took us 60 extra seconds because of my route. It's like horrific, bro.
it's
Am I the only one?
you are not the only one.
It's
I don't.
horrific.
It doesn't
Rachel's
happen
on the
to
other
me.
side of that door right now.
You're gonna get me.
Let's bring her in here.
You're gonna get me in cryo and red light therapy, and we're gonna fix this problem, JD.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're fixing it.
All right, so tell me. So what we hear is okay. Go, keep going.
What happened is your sense of respect is being chipped away at. They're little chips. They happen all the time. Most men aren't even aware that respect is so important. It says in the Bible that God made us this way. This is not a flaw. It's not some masculine, testosterone-driven need. It's not insecurity. God made us to seek being respectful. And if you think about it, that's a very valuable thing to society and the community if we are trying to seek respect. That means we're living a life of integrity,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so all of these little micro incidents happen over time. And so what does a guy do when he's feeling disrespected over time? And he doesn't even know what it is. All he knows is like, I didn't like that. Like caveman, leave cave.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
we break it down, a lot of guys, if you're not in tune with that and you don't understand what is happening, you just know you don't like that exchange and you like less of it. How do we get less of it?
You leave. Go
Yeah.
elsewhere.
You withdraw or attack, right? Depending on how you approach debate or conflict.
Right.
And if neither of those are good outcomes, and as a Christian man, this happens just as much with Christians as non-Christians.
Of course.
Like, we're not exempt. So the Christian man, or even a non-Christian person with integrity, says, they break it down. This is how the mind goes. This part of my life isn't good. What is good in my life? Well, my job's good because I provide for my family. That's an honorable thing. That's good. My kids are good. I love my kids. My wife loves my kids. That's a unifying area. I will pour into my kids. So now with very good intentions, I'm now doing good a job. I'm loving my children, but I'm leaving this alone. Which, like mold in the dark, being unaddressed, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get better through atrophy. So what does your wife do when we start to withdraw or reattack? The odd thing that we see with most women in this circumstance is a lot of them become more critical.
Yeah.
It's shocking. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why that is. I mean, I have theories. I think it's probably something to do with like, well, I want to get your attention and you don't pay attention to me when I'm nice to you. So maybe by me being mean to you or withdrawing or withholding sex,
Yeah.
a very common approach, that I will then get enough of your attention and I'm going to critique you into greatness. So what happens now is and it's not, it starts in the beginning. Very rarely do you see a wife who's like, I'm going to tear this man down. That's not their heart.
Right.
They literally think they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
And make you better and help you avoid a mistake or an error. And then as the guys withdraw, we basically stop loving our wives and cherishing our wives. The greatest thing a woman wants is to be cherished. Also created by God, this desire to be loved and cherished. So these two things break down. I have in our book, we call it the frog in the pot, which incidentally turns out not to be scientifically true, but that idea that you put a frog in a pot. But it just happens slow over time, so you don't really know. Then one day you're in therapy because it's a crisis moment, and you're like, she's just always critical to me. And you're like, well, you start bringing up, or it'll be a little thing, like, well, she never puts the creamer away. And it's like, is that really why you're going to get divorced? Because it's the creamer? No, it's not the creamer. It's like 1,000 incidents that have built up over time that have never been talked about. So education and teaching these basic principles is so key, ideally early on, because as we get further down the road, you have a lot of history, you got a lot more to deal with.
Right.
But that being said, once a guy, and this goes down, once you increase the awareness, once the two people know this, and you can start to communicate about it, like, hey, honey, I know you want to help me with those directions, but out of love, I just want to tell you, like, it kind of hits my respect card a little bit in a bad way. Is there any, are we going to be late? Like, it just increasing their awareness to know that their desired outcome was to help you, and what you received was disrespect. Then they can learn how to communicate in a way that maintains the integrity of your respect, but maybe there is a valuable piece of information, but they just need to learn how to communicate that to you.
Yeah.
And we just need one of the flywheels spinning, and it can mow through mistakes, on one side, right? So if you're feeling respected, you want to pursue your wife because you're like, this woman makes me feel like a king of the world. Like, I want to go conquer. I'm confident. She's like meeting my sexual needs. She loves me. She trusts me. She empowers me.
Yep.
She connects with me. Like, you can tell when you meet a guy that is living that life, that in that relationship. They are different human beings.
Yeah.
And you can tell the guy that comes home every night from work tired and his wife is reminding him of what he forgot to do and the things he has to do tomorrow and how he's let her down. And those women want these men to be incredible leaders, and at the same time they're being torn down. So,
wow. Yeah. This is so, because I hear from a lot of couples, friends, like this is like the main thing.
it's so common, and it is addressable.
And we're not blaming women, by the way, here. It's going both ways here.
Absolutely
This is an
not.
example.
Absolutely not. I mean, men, we the classic male failure in a marriage is the greatest thing I'm bringing to this marriage is that I married you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Like, I did my job. I courted you and I got you to say yes, and I'm committed to you for the rest of your life. You know how lucky you are? And then I'm not going to date you anymore. I'm not going to find ways to look for what it is that I loved and what attracted me in the beginning, and keep that, remind them of that over and over, and find new ways to show that. And it's not hard. It just needs to be intentional. And we can, I personally have to be very intentional about this, because I can fall, like the rocks, water coming down a mountain. I just gravitate towards kind of an equilibrium that's to me very efficient, and I can start to live my life and make decisions based on alarms going off instead of preventing the alarm from going off. Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's far more work. So I was coaching a guy and he's like, well, his wife wanted to go look for a lost dog or something. He's like, I just told her that's stupid. And I said, oh, really? Why was it stupid? It's like, well, it's dark, it's inefficient, blah, blah. I said, so efficiency is important to you? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, so do you think what you said to her is going to be an efficient process for you in your relationship? How's that going to go?
What'd he say?
Yeah, we do these things, and truth gets weaponized. This is another common thing. You probably experienced it. I mean, we probably all have. Is you'll hear someone say something that is destructive, and their justification is it's true.
Yeah.
And truth gets weaponized all the time. So we teach a lot about you should always speak truth, but it needs to be coupled with grace and love. So if you're using truth, it has to be constructive. Your intent has to be
Give me an
constructive. Your wife asked you to pick up some milk on the way home. You come in and you just traditionally tend to forget these things. You're absent-minded, whatever the reason, right? And she's like, why you always forget? I ask you and you always forget these things. Kind of true.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's not,
Yes.
I mean, but it hurts, you feel convicted. If you're a healthy human being, you're going to apologize and figure out what can I do to do better. But she could have also said, honey, when I know you have a lot going on. I know you work all day and you're juggling these things and you have all these financial, I totally understand that. But when I ask you to get these things and you don't forget, it makes me feel like I'm not important to you.
Yeah.
So I've communicated the same thing. I communicated the truth that
Right.
when you forget these things, but I did grace and love. So it's a constructive communication
Yeah.
that changes everything. And sometimes we need time. Sometimes we're not. A lot of times, and we teach this a lot, is having communication doesn't mean now all the time. Like sometimes we're not in an emotional state. We're in a low mood, or there's 10 other things that are now added to the ingredients of this mix here that won't have a good outcome because I'm just not in the right headspace to have a constructive.
Yeah.
So it could be like, I hear you, honey. Hey, I've had a rough day. I just need to go for a walk, maybe give me 20 minutes to just gather my thoughts. A lot going on. And I want to respond to this with the right mindset. So it's learning some of those, creating the space and the blockers to prevent accidental fires in the marriage that are easily avoided. And the big thing with couples where you have, a long track record,
right.
This is the tougher one.
This is where my next question was like, what's the most common ones have been together for a pretty good amount of time?
Yep.
What is the most common thing that you see, and how the heck do you rekindle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the root of those problems often is love and respect related.
Yeah.
That's where affairs happen.
Right.
And with kids, like the child rearing years are the most common time frame when things start to go sideways in a marriage and affairs can happen. And the reason goes back to, not the only reason, but I think a common theme is that we make our kids gods in our marriage. The order, the hierarchy is God, my spouse, my children. We flip the children over spouse. We don't know it, but if we look at the time, money, resources, effort, and we weight it all, the kids are getting way more than your relationship. So you can tell me, no, my marriage is the most important. But if I can't look at your calendar and everything else going on and I don't see that, then maybe that's not an honest assessment. And so it's really being very aware of putting your spouse ahead. Your relationship is the lifeboat the whole family's sitting in.
Yep.
So you can't save the children without the lifeboat. So there's times when I think in our culture right now with sports, kids, like the demands to kids with sports right now is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, if you just follow, again, the water going down the channel, if you just don't have any intention, you will find yourself divided at different courts all weekend, every weekend. Now they want year-round sports.
Yeah.
The finances, if you're not in a very strong financial situation, like sports are expensive, you're going to find yourself financially and time stressed. For what? So your kids are playing a sport, the odds of them ever being professional, it's not, the juice isn't the squeeze. This is a cultural current that is sucking kids and families with them. And it can be dangerous. So you just there's times I think where it'd be very wise and pragmatic for a family to tell their kids to put some boundaries around, like, you can play one sport or you can play anything, but this is the maximum number of hours that we're going to be involved in it. Maybe they can carpool, but you don't need to be at every game. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I grew up, my kids weren't, my parents weren't in my games. I did okay.
Yeah.
Like we just have a lot of cultural pressure on us around that. And I loved, don't get me wrong, my son played water polo. I loved watching his game. I loved it.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Loved it more than anything. It's not that we can't do it, but there needs to be some healthy boundaries around that. But when we fast forward, so around that, the affairs and issues is because we are now prioritizing the kids. Our needs are being unmet, and it's not really super obvious. And if there starts to be the withdrawal or the criticism or the withdrawal of sex or the withdrawal of pursuing our wives, then we find ourselves in circumstances whether we're at a work event, we had a couple beers and the coworkers flirting with you, and then you start talking about how you're married, but it's kind of tough right now, or the wife's at the gym. That was my case. She's working out and starts making friends, and she doesn't feel loved and cherished by me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't love some of her behavior and actions, and I didn't really reassure her. I mean, I was fully committed. I was home. I was all in.
Yep.
But you create that vulnerability where, look, it's exciting. An affair is exciting.
Right.
If you're thinking of having one, I promise you it will be exciting, and it will burn everything around you down. There's nothing at the end of that. So it's a lie the devil uses that there is something better and it's easier. But the fact is you go down that path, you're going to be with that person, and at the end of the day, you're going to walk into the bathroom after they took a shit and it's going to smell just like everybody else. Like we're just humans. Like there's no one who's really like quantitatively massively better than the person you're with, most likely.
Yeah.
They're just going to have different issues. So it's the lies, I think, that happen in couples. So, but all that to say is when we get to that spot where, look, this is where couples can be, and you have two people and they're saying things like, I've fallen out of love with you.
Right.
We've grown apart. I just can't see myself anymore. I'm not happy. You don't make me happy. And the classic, here's the number one advice given by the world or worldly friends, maybe with good intentions, is you deserve better.
Right.
As Christians, we don't. We deserve hell. Like, we're given grace by God.
Yeah.
Because we're imperfect people and we need to live that out in our marriage. But where we go with people at that stage is there's a great book called The Relationship Handbook. My mentor turned me on to, and it was kind of rocked my world in terms of looking at past traumas and how traditional behavioral health tackles that. It's free on Amazon Prime, and I don't think the author's a Christian, but when I read it, and I think we may have talked about this a little bit, but it basically says modern behavioral therapy. We'll take the super distressed couple, right?
Yeah.
And they go into to see the licensed family marriage therapist,
Right.
and they say, so tell me about what's going on. And they start to unpack all of the slights. Well, she just kind of come home. She's always critical. And she's like, well, you haven't taken me for a date and you don't say anything nice to me. You just ignore me when I come in and ask you how your day was. And you're always working late. And, so they unload and, okay, so what do you think? And so they just spend time basically taking you into this low mood therapy concept, which the idea behind it is good. It's like we have these pipes and they're clogged. So we're going to go into the nasty pipes and we're going to unclog them, and then everything's going to start flowing good. That's kind of what's supposed to happen. But sadly, what can happen is you stay in those pipes so long that you actually don't ever get out of them. Because you have, depending on how clogged those are, you have to be in those so long that the relationship can't survive because you're just dwelling in all that has been bad and all of the negative history.
Right.
And so the concept of this book is high mood therapy, which is very much aligned with what the Bible has to say, right? The Bible doesn't say, hey, whatever's bad in your marriage, make sure you talk about it regularly. It says, whatever's good, pleasing, and perfect, think on those things.
Yep.
And he says, take your thoughts captive. God knows that our thoughts, the water going down the hill, will naturally gravitate sometimes to negative or anxious types of thoughts. And he's saying, you got to take it captive. You don't have to take captive something that's not running away.
Right.
And our thoughts run away. So we take our thoughts captive and we focus on gratitude. I'm thinking about what are the 5 things I loved about my wife when I met her. Sometimes we have to go back in time because we've been so polluted and we've had such negative history that we tend to corrode the things that we did love. But really try and reflect, what was it? Like, why were you so excited? Like, remember that second date and all you could think about was her, and you like spent all day trying to find the perfect flowers, and you borrowed money from someone to pay for the, like think of the heart and intention that goes into when you meet that woman. And in the beginning, those are just as real as the slights.
Yeah. Right.
And we somehow magnify. So low mood therapy has you kind of magnify all of the slights. High mood therapy has you magnify the good and great things. And here's the most exciting part about this concept is I don't have to go back and unpack everything and tie off every stinky turd, and I don't have to do it. We could literally decide, you know what? Just like God lets me be a new creation tomorrow, he's not going to hold the mistakes I've made over the last 54 years in front of me tomorrow, because that would really limit me.
Yeah.
If you start out tomorrow, JD, and you woke up and you open up your phone, and there's just a list of everything you did wrong over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
How motivating would that be?
Not at all.
and that's what we're doing a lot of times in therapy.
That's true.
And so we want to be inspired. We want to be high mood. And so we can agree, 2 people can agree to let go of the past things and to refocus on whatever's good, pleasing, and perfect. Why did you love them? What was the thing you loved to do together? Go do it and let go of the past. So if you had a dream, let's say you had a dream last night and your wife was just kicking your dog, being a terrible person, and you woke up and you were mad at her about it. She'd be like, I didn't do that. That was a dream. Why are you going to let a dream affect our reality going forward? Because that's not real.
Right.
And the truth is the past isn't really any more real than a dream right now. Like it did happen, but it's not happening. And it seems like overly simplistic, but it can be, and it is biblical concept of having grace and love towards our spouses to let those things go. So if you can get two people to that spot to acknowledge that as a possible approach,
Yeah.
then you have a foundation to start building again from the things that got you going good in the first place, and letting the past go. That's your best shot. The hard part is when you have someone who's so checked out. Usually they're having an affair with someone. I'm sorry to say this, but
Right.
when you have someone who's like, I've fallen in love with you, I'm done. I'm not going to go therapy. I'm not, a lot of times
You can pretty much read between the lines.
oftentimes.
Yeah.
Not always. I don't want, if there's someone listening to this and they're like, that's what my spouse said to me, that means they're having an affair. No, I'm not saying that's in every case, but it is very common, especially if you see a radical shift. It's like, oh, everything was good, and all of a sudden they're just completely withdrawn, or they start acting very mean, because a lot of times people will start acting mean towards their spouse to get them to behave badly back, so they feel justified in the
Right.
bad behavior they're doing.
Yep.
And radical honesty and transparency is such a huge foundation builder in a marriage. So I know it's not fun, but like when Pam and I met, we really were like almost trying to disqualify one another. It was so, like, she knows literally everything I've ever done wrong. Like every person I've been, like, there's no secrets. And it's funny because we did that because we were older, and like she's in Texas and I'm in San Diego. Like, this is kind of an odd long shot. Like, probably doesn't make a lot of sense for a number of reasons, logically or logistically. So there was almost like a legitimate trying to, like, are you going to waste? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. Here's all the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And it was very bonding and trust building, because like, oh, you're telling me your true self. You're not trying to say how great you are. Well, have you ever done anything wrong? No, not really. What's the worst thing about you? I love too hard.
Right.
What
Yeah,
is?
here we go.
What is the answer?
I'm too trusting.
Too trusting.
Yeah.
I make too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a fault. I'm so hardworking. I'm just too driven. All right, so the ones that are, there's so many, like, I know people in my life that are just, they're glorified roommates at best at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you say to them? Like if the one's listening to this or watching this podcast that's in that boat, what's the first step? What do you suggest that they do? And I see a lot of the, because I take Rachel on date nights every month for 23 years, if not every week.
Love it.
I've given her, she's gotten flowers. No, this isn't patting me on the back, but I'm just saying I get it. How you got her is how you keep her.
Yes.
I fully believe in that since day one. So a lot of women ask me, like, how do I get him to do what you do? And you buy she's gotten a bouquet of flowers every holiday for 23 years. It's never, because it's just, and I get guys that are like, oh, I don't believe in flowers, or she doesn't believe in flowers. I'm like, yeah, it's the gesture, bro. It's not even the flowers.
Yeah.
It's the thought.
Right.
My point is that, not that it's only the women that are being neglected, but it's some of the men too. But,
Sure.
So who's ever listening to this, like, where do they, if they think it's just done and they're glorified roommates, they're in what we call a sexless marriage at this point.
Yeah.
Because Elisa and Tony DiLorenzo were on here. Marriage, they have the #1 marriage podcast in the world.
Yes.
So I'm going to link you with them, by the way.
Awesome.
Amazing people. They're Christians. They come from Awakened Church. Anyway, amazing. That's one thing they said as we talked about this is, at that point, and if they're in sexless marriage, there's no spark there anymore. Where do they start? Where does the person listening to this start if they want to revive things?
Yeah. I'm presuming we're talking about Christians in this case, or not really?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
Let's just say anybody listening to this, whether it's secular, non-Christian, Christian.
Okay. So knowing the audience, if it's everybody, I would say why. I don't understand the attraction to mediocrity other than the lack of effort.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do it, why not make it enjoyable for both people?
Right.
So it's kind of how long do you want to live in a lifeless marriage? Why not? I'm like, if you're gonna do it well. Like even if you don't believe in God, like why not have more fun doing the same thing? And so it requires a little bit of effort on both people's part. And I think part of that is, you said something important. Part of it is it's not just guys or girls, but I think sometimes we need to hear it from the right person. We need to have an honest assessment of what role we're playing in the relationship, and what are the things that we should be doing better or different to create the relationship that's going to have the outcome we would desire. So I think complacency is usually what's at the root of those situations where it was good, it was bad, now it's okay. And it went from bad to okay just because we just settled. We're just like,
Yep.
We don't need to try. If we actually found trying makes it worse, so we'll just do less.
Yeah. This is common.
It's very common. Yeah. Did you see Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that movie?
No.
Great movie. Anyway, watch it. It's hilarious. It's R-rated. Don't watch it with the kids around. But there's this scene where this guy's trying to learn how to surf. He's in Hawaii trying to get over a relationship. And this like super stoned out surf instructor, is like, okay. So he has him on the beach with the surfboard. He's like, all right, pretend you're paddling. He's like, now pop up. And he pops up. He's like, no, you gotta do less. Do it again. And so he goes and he like pops up. He's like, no, get down. Do less. And he's like, and then eventually just like kind of pushes up. He's like, no, you got to do something. You got to get up. Like it's this. He's like, what is this guy doing? It's the confusing instructions of how much effort should I put into this, to where it feels natural, but I'm doing something, but I'm not doing too much. And I think you need a partner. Community is great. We need someone who's going to listen to us, assess us, and speak truth into our lives, again, with grace and love, so that you can figure out what you can change. Because most of us sitting in those stagnant relationships are just looking at the other person going, our marriage is failing because of all these things you are not doing. And that's not actionable for you. So the question is, if your wife's not sleeping with you, what can you do about yourself that would make that a more desirable outcome for you?
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, it's not all her fault. Think about the last time you did have sex and you enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. What happened? What did that day look like? How was she feeling about you? How were you treating her? And if you're ignoring her, or blowing it off, or you gave up on your health or how you look, like you're just not trying, then you're not a honeypot, buddy. So it's kind of like we need to try and change the things in our own lives that's going to create the desire on the other person to fulfill some of those hopes and dreams. And definitely part of that's communication of what our hopes and dreams are,
Yeah.
And sometimes that gets snuffed out because of past pain and troubles. Like I did this a lot in my first marriage. I would basically, there was something I'd want to say, that I wish she would do or we could do, or a problem we had. And I had enough of those that I feel like I knew the outcome. I was my own little AI machine.
Yep.
What would Sherry say if I said this? She would say, she's not perfect and you're not perfect. And why do you always do that? She'll never, like I already knew, I felt like I had the outcome already. So I just wouldn't bother. And so it just sat stagnant, and it just kind of poisoned your perspective to where you say less, you try less, and you end up at mediocrity. So yeah,
So let's land this plane here. Number one, I want to, because I just know how common it is that people are in these mediocre at best relationships. And I look at my wife and we have the most amazing, fun life.
Same.
That's every day. I can't wait to do it. Live with her. Go to every minute. I don't want to go with the guys. I want to hang with my wife.
Totally.
Like I don't need the guy time. I don't need that stuff because I like being with my wife. She's just this beautiful light and this energy, and We did the date nights and the kids and the event. We just love everything about
Yeah.
our life. And then it became God-centered a couple years ago, and it went to a whole nother level.
That's
Like, I
so
didn't think it
awesome.
could get. I tell this. I didn't think it could get better.
Yeah.
And it got better once
Yeah.
we got Christ-centered. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is even better.
Yep.
But going back to people that aren't Christians or whatever, can't identify with that or God being at the center, what can you say on this? We'll land the plane by what can you say to, like, what are we designed to do? We're designed to have community, right? We're
Yeah.
designed to where, two is better than, two as a team. We're going
Yes.
to be much more effective as a team.
Right.
Give some inspiration on we're meant to be together, and for those that are at that, they're just glorified roommates. They don't know if there's any hope. They're mundane lives. They're going through the motions. There's no passion anymore. There's no real intimacy anymore. There's no anything. Can
Yeah.
you inspire them to do something about it, or what, or make a move and get out of that situation? Can you touch on this?
Yeah, and we have coached couples where that's the outcome. They don't stay together, and there's biblical reasons why a marriage you can be divorced, but even those with the right posture, if you have someone who had an affair, they have repented and research repenting. It's not just I'm sorry. Repenting, they've repented and they are committed to healing and loving and restoring the marriage. Those things can be, you can actually have a better marriage at the end of it. I'm not saying that to encourage someone to have an affair. I'm just saying God can heal all those things. If you are, but you do need two people to want to make a marriage better. If you have someone who's completely checked out, and oftentimes the person who's checked out is often the offender or creating more of the pain and trouble in the marriage. And it's the victim who's like, I want to go to therapy. Let's heal. Let's make it better. And they're just, so I think for people in that circumstance, that love operates best in freedom, right? Not God doesn't compel us. He gave us freedom to choose him, and we need to have that same thing in our relationship. So if you're in that marriage and there's a pressure, even if you're the offender and someone desires great things for your relationship, and they're putting pressure on that person, that's not the environment where the best things happen.
Yeah.
It can be better for you to say, all right, well, I'm interested in restoring and having a great relationship with you. You are not, from what you just said, you're like, I'm not doing it, whatever they say, right? So I am going to, if you want to pack up and move out temporarily and, think about it, think about what it is you really do want. If it's not me, I accept that. It's not what I would hope for. Then I think that would be the best thing for both of us. So it's the takeaway is what we're talking about there.
Takeaway.
It's not adding a weight on top of them. They feel pressure. They feel stress. They probably don't even know what they really feel. They couldn't break it down into a logical diagram. It's purely emotion and emotionally driven and other things probably driving that, fear. So by removing anything there, it lets them kind of maybe get to where that is at some point and not have any additional pressure. So creating that space for them and letting them know you are an option for them. You are not a foregone conclusion. You are not there no matter what they do. That's the dangerous behavior that we see sometimes is like, I'm doing everything I can. Stop doing everything.
Yep. Yeah.
You offer and invite them to be part of it. If they don't want to be a part of it, then you set a boundary. Like, if you can't do this with me, then I think it'd be best if we separate temporarily so you can think about what it is you really want. I want to have a loving, great marriage with you. You don't seem committed to that concept. I got married to you under God's design for marriage, which was a covenant, which means it's not going to be broken. It's not contingent on feelings or emotions, that we're committed to one each other. When we're committed to one each other and we both know it, you know what that creates? That creates safety, a sense of safety.
Yep.
And once you have safety, then love can thrive. You can handle conflict. And here's the thing about why you should have joy in a marriage is God called us to have joy in a marriage. It's a commandment.
Come on.
It's a commandment.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting around going, I love Jesus, she loves Jesus, but we're like good, it's good enough right now, you're settling. That's not what God called you to have in your marriage. So fix it. Get someone to partner with you. Invest there. I guarantee you're investing, all of us, myself included. I invest in things that have zero to no return. If I'm like Netflixing, binge watching, like there's things I do that just have no real value to me or the community around me. We all have those pockets, most of us. So if you're saying I don't have time, I don't have the energy, then look at your calendar, dialogue, write down how you spend a week and circle the things that are unnecessary. You will find, I guarantee you, enough hours to change literally anything in your life.
Yeah,
that
totally.
you want to change.
Totally. Love it. Because say that again. What has God designed us to be? To have joy.
Joy.
Like life, it's one shot.
Yes.
Why not have pure joy?
And that lets us fulfill the bigger calling, which is to be a light to this world.
That's it.
And if we're fading out, hide it under a bushel? No, I'm going to let it shine. Little
Come on.
song for you.
and listen, if you're who's ever still listening at this point, people listen to my things in little
They make it this far?
They 15, 20 increments.
Because I'm going to give you the winning lottery number at the end.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. People listen to me in 15, 20 minute when I'm in the car here, when I'm in the car. So I'm a 15, 20 minute increment guy or podcast. But listen, folks, if you're listening to this and what John just said, you are meant to be a light. Period and end of story. Don't do everyone in your life, your friends, your family, your kids, the community, the people in your circles, you are doing them the disservice by settling in a marriage that's just mediocre and where you don't have pure joy.
Yes.
You are doing everyone in your life that's going to benefit by you being the light that you were designed to be, by not working on it, by not taking the steps, by not giving the takeaway.
Yes.
I love that you said that.
Amen.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Yep.
Let's see what he or she does.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if they leave, then that's abandonment.
And this is an opportunity for you, if that happens, for you to fully step into who you were designed to be.
Yes.
And that is a light.
Yes.
For the world.
Yes.
Of positivity, of passion, of love. Are you inspiring people in your circle or in the world with how much passion and love you have for life? Are you right now? Ask yourself that.
Yes.
Ask yourself that right now. Are you? Or are you not in a good mood, a downer, always upset, always negative, not fulfilled, have no joy, and not inspiring anybody?
Yep. And your kids pick up on all this.
And your kids are the number one people that are going to be picking this up, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
And if it's negative, it's bad, and it's a negative vibration in that home because of the marriage, let me tell you something, that's gonna not fare well later in life for the kids. It's only a matter of time.
Amen, brother. Yes. And there's hope. The other part is if you're there, there's the calling, which you just nailed perfectly. But there's hope. There is hope. Like, don't give up hope.
Do not give up hope.
Yes. We're
In the-
hope dealers.
In the words of Stephen Perry, don't stop believing.
Yeah.
All right, John, tell them where to find your Christian singles.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much, JD, for having me on. Yeah, Sundays with an S, because Sunday was taken. Sundays socialclub.com. That's the website. And then we're Sunday Social Club 3 for 3 on Instagram. But if you go to the website, you'll see all the details, all the events we have planned, our process, our heart behind it. We want to create an incredible community outside the church, not limited by the church walls, of Christian singles who love Jesus, who want to get to know each other. Whether you make friends or a spouse, it's going to be fun, and we're going to glorify God in the kingdom. Because I was in that situation, like, well, I want to meet someone and the church doesn't really have an avenue, and I'm not going to go tap girls on the shoulder when I come out of church, and my friends are inviting me to the bar.
Yeah.
That's my only option right now, and I don't want to sit home alone, so I'm going to go to the bar. And the next thing you know, I was married to a girl for 21 years who, things,
Yep.
had a lot of affairs and things go wrong. And so our goal is help people avoid that and learn and grow connected.
I love
so
it.
it's going to be fun.
And then
It's
the
gonna be a lot.
marriage, your marriage website.
Yes, the number 3, number 4, number 3 marriages, 3 for 3, which stands for emotional, spiritual, physical. Don't settle in yourself. I start there. Don't settle in yourself. This isn't like look at your partner and start critiquing them. This starts with yourself. But don't settle in your relationship. To your point, like let's not just survive marriage. Let's thrive. Let's crush it. Let's make the Mormon marriages look terrible.
Yes.
Just kidding. There's that new reality show. On
Yes.
Yeah.
You owe it. Remember, you owe it to everybody in your life that's going to have the pleasure or the honor to be in your presence, to be a light for them, to inspire them. You owe it to them to work on your marriage.
Yes.
And call John and his wife to help you out there. They will get you going.
Love to.
The John Martin, ladies and gentlemen. Real Deal Talk. Thanks, bro. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Can't wait to connect further with you guys.
Likewise, JD. Thanks for having me, brother.
Let's go. Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap.